Are you gonna behave today, chat? Are you gonna behave today? If I swing over to this other screen, are you gonna, but you've already tried to punch me. Okay, might as well, might as well. Hi, chat.
All right.
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
No, no.
What was?
Wait a minute.
What's
Are we
your
good?
pleasure? What's your fear?
What's happening? Who the fuck are you? Oh my god, my voice is shot. Why is my voice shot? Hi, chat. How are you doing? Enters like Alfred Hitchcock. Good evening. Get her, get her? What do you mean get her? White scare, jump scare, white scare, jump scare. Here, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Hold on. I did it on purpose because I thought it'd be funny. I thought it would be funny. How are you doing, chat? What trouble are you getting into? How is your Monday? Jeeves out of the box and back in power. Jeeves has been given permission to use the studio. Come quick, the Puddle Baron just dropped. It's not new. How old is this? I got this after the first model, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Snowing, so work was closed. Oh? Boy, what a week, huh, chat? It's Monday. It's Monday. And Wheel of Punishment, you motherfucker. Why? Why Wheel of Punishment from the get-go? All right, hold your horses. Hold your horses. Let me get the Wheel of Punishment. Blah, blah, blah. Tell us the sins, we will win. No. No! Please change. Oh, okay. I need to show y'all how close this was. I need to show y'all how close this was. Okay. Hold on. Also, I'm gonna have to manhandle this model the whole time. So give me a second. Look at that. Look at that. That's dirty. So close. So close yet so far. Not calling into C-SPAN to complain about SCOTUS. Oh yeah, you mean the using a fake name? Using a fake name that the same person has used the same fake name for years to call into C-SPAN? Man, I wonder who John Barron is. Why does everybody seem to know the name John Barron? That's crazy. What is that little sliver? That's the live record a script on stream. Hi, Webby. How are you doing? It almost landed on it. It's barely past it. Oh, eyes? Okay, hold on. I got to do those manually. All right, there you go. There's your extra eyes. Terry Pratchett's Discworld series on digital and used it as an excuse to get a Roku reader. What is that? I've been in chat for at least one of those. We've done it, I think, twice. Also, Lucian. Hey, Lucian. Any last words? Do you got any last words, boss man? Well, let's play the waiting game, chat. Lucian has to say his last words. Use your special words. Discworld mentioned, heck yeah. Is that like Waterworld or Westworld? Squats. Oh, shit, do I have squats? Oh, I do have squats 1 minute ago. Son of a bitch, dude. Don't let up on Scrunglinger for even a second. Oh my goodness. We're the damn Rokia hectic. We haven't really been spending any time in the ocean. So, I mean, you know, I don't know what Discworld is. Kobo e-reader? Is that like...
There's our man. There's our man. There's our boy.
Is that bootleg, what was it? Is that bootleg version of like the old reading tablet? I had one. Why can't I remember what it's called? I can't remember. The ones that actually tried to look like it was on paper. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about, right? Right? Everybody knows the like the e-reader thing. Why was that so quiet? I don't know why that one was so quiet. Thank you for the 100 bitch protect. Dino. It is a dino. What was was it? Kindle, that's it. Yes, yes, yes. Kindle was what I was thinking of. I had a Kindle when I was in like high school, I think. Chat, if you want to know something that's funny about the Kindle, and you know how horny teenagers are, right? It's like just generally they will find a way to get what they want regardless. I found out that you could load deviant art on Kindle when I was a teenager. Thank you guys for the hype train. That's a cool looking model. It is an old model. It's actually before 2.0, which also still does come with, like, you know. I can take these away. You get nothing. Good day, sir. I can turn the lights on. Hi, chat. How are you doing? You can pat me. Not that button. That'll load a different model. I have glasses. I have another outfit, which is my PJs. I can change my hair. Eat the chips. Listen, this was a surprise thing. So I don't have the redeem for pats left anymore. So I don't know, bits? Like 5 bits? Oh, I can also turn the hair off on this one. But you can't. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Egg. Did you know Beef is getting a Cheebs as a model? I did not know that. Wait, Beef has the design? What does Beef look like again? Or am I thinking? I think I'm thinking of Hyper that has the screen. No, not the kids show. Oh, I forget how to say his name. Kylo? Was it Kylo? Also, I swear to God, the tracking on this model has gotten worse. I swear it used to be better at tracking. Although, at least this model actually lets me, like, kind of wink. As a companion for the D&D campaign. Oh. Caillou? Oh, that's it. Yeah, Caillou. Okay. I used to see the show. It's just, like, didn't watch it. So, like, looking at it, my brain was like, do I say it like caribou? Track D's, pants grab. All right, so my shoot Mara. Also, did we ever time out Lucian? Sunstar, did you ever time out Lucian? I think it makes you wink. No, I can. It tracks one eye at a time. Thank you for shooting Lucian in the face. You'll be remembered, Lucian. See you in 10 minutes. Caillou is the worst. Wasn't that show about him being really annoying all the time and then learning a lesson at the end? Wasn't it? I swear it was. Wasn't that always the plot? It's about him being an annoying child and getting into trouble all the time, and then like he gets taught a lesson by his parents, and that's supposed to be the lesson the kid watching the show is supposed to learn. Hi, Kelvin. How are you doing? Oh no, I was just waiting for Lucian's last words, and then I got distracted. Yeah, learning a lesson. No, I asked for Lucian's last word, and then I got distracted, and then I wasn't sure if I saw it or not. I mean, depends on if you believe he had cancer because the bald. I mean, kids can also have alopecia. It's not, or something similar to alopecia. It's not that unheard of. Does he even learn a lesson? I don't know. I've never seen an entire episode. Bite the cheese for sustenance? No. Not allowed. You can pat. You can pat the cheese. I'll still be upset about it. I'll still be quite upset about it. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. And then, of course, Protect tries to steal my social security number yet again. Doesn't have cancer. He's just a piece of shit that even his own body doesn't believe he deserves to have hair. Amazing. Amazing. I slept in like an extra hour, and then that's why I'm so late. That's why it's like, it's 12:50 right now. We started 30 minutes late. Announcement, titty sprinkles. Thank you for your attention at this matter. Attention, Kmart customers. Testicles. That is all. Oh, okay. No, that was the make announcement. Hold on, I got you. I got you. Don't worry.
Attention, Dark Carnival guest. May I please have your attention? Titty Sprinkles, thank you for attention to this matter.
Anyway, anyway. You got titty sprinkles at Kmart? No capes. No capes. Never any capes. Capes are awful in every way. I don't care how heroic they make you look. They're stupid and impractical. I hate you. That is all. Yeah, fucking Kmart shoppers, man. If Kmart still exists, only the worst people go to those Kmarts. I went to a Kmart. This was in the 2010s, I'm pretty sure. The last time I saw and went to a Kmart. We were on vacation and we're like, holy shit, there's a Kmart still here. Let's go check it out. And I get there, they still had an original packaged and wrapped version of the Jimmy Neutron movie. The movie that came out before the TV series. Attention, with the Toyota Corolla license plate RB45HN3. That's a European license plate, isn't it? Please report to security point 12. Your vehicle's on fire. Yeah, that'd be Ordain. Ordain did, in fact, do that. Wait, did you buy it? I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it because we didn't have any VHS players. I was just so shocked to find the orange VHS case there. Time to make contacts to get a secret key for team of the next mayor model? No. No. Not allowed. A sequel to Jimmy Neutron? Why? Why? Also, hey Chad, did you know there's certain TV channels talked about in the you know what files? But did you know one channel that's not in it? That wasn't in it? Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network wasn't in the files, Chance. Which one wasn't? Now think about that though. The children's programs outside of that weren't listed. Disney and Nickelodeon. Which means both of those things were likely influenced for their productions that they released. Which makes sense for Nickelodeon with, oh, what's his name from the iCarly show? And the Amanda show. What was his name? Kid McTouchy, something like that. The one that the guy who played Spencer in iCarly borderline had to fight. Dan Schneider, thank you. The old Nickelodeon owner, Dan Schneider's the fucking greaseball. Correct. Wait, was he the owner? I thought he was like a producer or a director or something. 100% there's conspiracies about feet fetish producers there. I am not certain. Buster McToe Toucher. Huh. Mr. Holder Tighter, she's a fighter. Ew. He owned it? Damn. There's the theory that SpongeBob was made for the kids on the island. That's probably a conspiracy theory, but that's crazy if there's actual connections to that. I don't think that would be the case, though. Well, how old is SpongeBob? SpongeBob came out in, what was it, 1999? No, that's Quentin Tarantino. I thought that was Kojima who liked feet. Lester the Foot Inspector? No. Producer, director? True. True. Hi, dude. How are you doing? Kojima likes feet. Have you played any of his games? Have you played any of them? The sole producer. Okay, y'all are rolling off on this. No. No. It was the first episode. First episode of SpongeBob aired 97? 99. May 1st, 99. I think you're thinking of a pup named Scooby-Doo. Because a pup named Scooby-Doo is far older than I initially thought. And still has the best song to this day. Picture of an island? True, but It's theoretically possible, but I feel like it's unlikely. Because, I mean, a lot of the voice actors and stuff were, like, really decent people. So it feels weird if they were making a show that was to entertain what were essentially trafficked children. I mean, I could see it if the fact that, like, only if you're, like, super conspiracy brained and you're like, well, they're on an island, a tropical island out there. And it starts with, are you ready, kids? And shows, like, an island and basically has, like, direct ties. But I feel like that's coincidence. That feels like nothing more than just extreme coincidences. Regarding the publishing of the files was not even the US. Yeah, it was in the UK. The only person who got arrested that shows up in the files in the United States is literally just Ghislaine Maxwell. Had fallen ill while out camping and been isolated while he recovers. From this moment on, he'll be called Tintin Quarantino. Shut the fuck up. Wait, what was that? Level of, like, the US went to the... Oh, the moon. I think that's supposed to be the moon. So that they could shoot the Russians from up there. Good Lord. Yeah, it's not fair to just be like, it's a show based in like tropical waters, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, this person did the thing in his islands in the tropics. Not quite the same. Those are too broad a coincidence to be like, yeah, maybe that has something to it. I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Because I think it was just already a successful TV show. We're on an island right now? No, we're on a continent. The difference is size. We also do live on a planet that is 70% water, so a lot of things are shockingly islands. Except Long Island. We don't talk about Long Islands. Nobody likes Long Island except the people that live on Long Island, and they're insufferable. Sunster, come on, there was nothing perverted about that. Get your mind out of the gutter. I like size difference as much as a lot of other people. I was almost said much as the next person, but some people don't like that. But that's not what we're talking about. Staten, long in that order? True. Are people islands because we're mostly water too? No. Because we're not, in fact, land. Big women, let's go. Always. Always. Almost every conspiracy theory has been proven true except for flat earthers who drowned and proved, meanwhile, no flat earth. Okay, I wouldn't say every, because I think it is very funny, though, that it's ended up being like more giant women in mainstream. I agree. I'm still waiting to see if they're actually doing a remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Because I don't think it was Tim Burton. Was it Tim Burton? Fuck, I don't remember. Who was making the... Oh, it is Tim Burton. Okay. And apparently somebody was... Yeah, apparently Margot Robbie is playing the main character. Wait, that's crazy. Wait a second. What is this? K-pop Demon Hunters writers to pin Tim Burton's Attack of the 50-Foot Woman remake? What? K-pop Demon Hunters screenwriters Danya Jimenez and Hannah McMecken are following up their golden hit with a huge gig. THR has learned that the duo has signed on to pin Tim Burton's remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman for Warner Brothers. We're obsessed with the idea of a 50-foot woman wreaking havoc because a man did her dirty. We have a feeling a lot of people will relate. Amazing. Amazing. The thing is, though, I don't know if it's going to be animated. It's Tim Burton, and you're now telling me that the writers are the people for what was it? Exactly, Webby. Exactly. I've been having... The thing is, I think it is going to be animated. Everything Tim Burton does is pretty much animated, isn't it? And then these two writers being from animated series, I think it is going to be animated. I don't think it's going to be live action, although it's interesting that they're picking Margot Robbie if it's not going to be live action. It'll be interesting. I'm very interested in seeing it. Thing too is, I think somebody said that it is going to be rated. I don't know if it's PG-13, if it's rated R. I don't remember. He did was Edward Scissorhands. And how long ago was that? 20 plus years? 25 years? I have no idea when Edward Scissorhands came out. I haven't seen it. Wait, Tim Burton did Michael Keaton's Batman movies? Really? Snow White? He did the live action Snow White? The one that flopped? The Snow White and the Seven Dwarves one? Beetlejuice? Did he do Beetlejuice? I guess that does make sense. Okay, yeah. Alice in Wonder. Okay, if it's half as good as Alice in Wonderlands, this is gonna be a great movie. This is gonna be a great movie. I know we did Edward Scissorhands, and I was gonna say, I think the weird thing is I know him, his like connection of movies, mainly because in high school, when did you get the chibi form? Over 2 years ago. We just stopped using it after we got the 2.0. Cast Amber Heard? No. People remember his animated movies more, I think. I think it's because of his style, or like the style that those movies are. They're very iconic. Very, very iconic. No, 'cause I don't know if it's going to be scary. I genuinely don't. But I am very much looking forward to the family fight scene. That's my favorite scene. Kind of scumbag or something, though. I remember hearing something about that. I don't know. But again, I wouldn't doubt if like a big Hollywood director is kind of an asshole. Okay, now y'all are just naming movies. Remake of the Planet of the Apes? The one with Caesar? The like trilogy? Did he do that one? Or are you thinking of the other non-CGI one? Okay, yeah, you're right. Yep, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland. I'm starting to think this man may be into certain things. A man after my own heart. The one with Troy McClure? I have no idea what that name is. Michelle Pfeiffer? I know that name. I have no idea who she is. Faceless 2 is going to be weird without John Candy. Oh, yeah. Didn't they announce that like a year or so ago? You're thinking Charlie, not Willy Wonka? Oh, yeah. They're the same story. It's just that their names are different. There's like, what? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and then Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the original. The one with, what's his name that plays Wonka that isn't Jack Sparrow? Oh, I'm forgetting his name. Johnny Depp. That's it. Johnny Depp. Yeah, Gene Wilder. I fucking love Gene Wilder movies, man. Was the witch that got naked in Stardust? I have no idea what Stardust is. 8 months ago? Oh. Planet of the Apes stage play? Maybe I've seen pieces of it. So we talked about the 1958 50-foot woman. I think this is the later one. Isn't there... Hold on a second. I want to say there's two. There's a 50s one, and isn't there like a 70s one? No, 93. 93 is the one I'm thinking of. I didn't realize it was so new. It seemed older than that for some reason. But at least the fact that apparently places are announcing that like the K-pop writers are teaming up for this means that the movie is at least real. The thing is, though, there's very little information on it. I do remember... Hello? I think somebody just got here. God damn it. I swear to God. The 1991 remake with Daryl Hannah? Yes. That's the one. I'm still waiting for a remake of, what is it? Village of the Giants? Is that the name of the movie? Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor is see no evil, hear no evil is amazing. We were for a minute, Rebound. What are you up to? All we need is one Willy Wonka movie with a conventionally attractive actress for a huge person population discovering that they have. Oh no. The thing was, I'm not even joking. When I was a kid, I'm pretty sure I was in pre-K, and they were gonna show us the colored version of what was it, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The thing is, though, I'd already seen it before. Hi, is that Nine Crafts or IX Crafts? X Crafts? I had seen the movie with my family before. That scene terrified the shit out of me as a really little kid. So when that scene came up in like the movie, when I was watching it in like pre-K in class, I specifically ran to the teacher. Nine? Okay, it is Nine Crafts. Thank you. I specifically ran to the teacher and asked her if I could go wait in the hallway, because I did not like that scene. I love people learning why. Wait, is there a reason for it? Is there a reason? I mean, there is the joke that people say. I was like, man, seeing all the quicksand and all the cartoons and movies I watched as a kid, I really thought it was going to be a bigger problem as an adult. Oh, I haven't heard this song in a while. In the books, all the bad children are like disfigured. Oh yeah, that's right. The books are far more morbid. That got past the censors. Oh, for sure. The thing was, though, is that's also fucking the start of that fetish. Because I know it's a thing. I've been on the internet fucking long enough to know it's a thing. And that movie was the start of an entire fucking fetish. Yes. Yes, this is Riot. Who did the epic level wind up? Okay. I mean, that's like totally Spies. Blueberry fetish. Please tell me you know that's a thing. I'm not even joking. If y'all have never seen it, there is a subcategory in inflation fetish art that is specifically devoted to fruit. And yes, I say fruit, not just blueberry. It's spanned out from there. There's raspberry, I've seen pear, I've seen banana, and it is so fucking weird. Did Gene Wilder Willy Wonka come out before History of the World Part 1? Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, I think, is older than we think it is. Let me see. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Wait, no, it's not. 2005? Okay, I did not realize that came out that far ago. Yeah, so Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. 71. Yeah, Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory came out in 71. Hated the Gene Wilder version of the story because it's such a departure from the original story. True. I'm not that surprised. Chat, do you want to know a fun fact about the writer of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, as well as their other books? Do you know what snozberries are? You know, the smells like snozberries, tastes like snozberries. Oh, Impy, I know 100%. I know there's actually a VTuber out there that is a quote-unquote blueberry VTuber, and her design is literally fucking Violet's outfit from the first movie. I don't know if she's still around. I haven't seen her in like 2 years. She was not very popular because she was so niche. And the outfit's kind of ugly. Was it drugs? No, it was not drugs. Snozberries is from another novel by the original artist, or by the original author. He has a series from the point of view of a female assassin. And one of the stories she's telling to, I don't know if it's her target or if it's just like another guy she's explaining her career to. She goes to essentially assassinate it was some equivalent of like a congressman or something. And she describes it as, I seduced him by tickling his snozberries. And she's referring to his testicles. So snozberries in the world that the author has written are, yes, it is, Tuka. How are you doing? It's testicles. She's fondling his bowls. the focus on fetishes looking respectfully for research. I wouldn't even say for like research. It's more of sheer curiosity. And the thing is, like, I have my own interests and stuff, but so I end up coming across like a lot of things. I know some VTubers out there that at this point, I suspect that they're commissioning their own fetish art with the frequency that I see it. But every time I see it and I'm like, okay, who commissioned this? It always says it's like anonymous commission. I'm like, oh, I know who this is. This is too suspect to be anything else. Especially when it was already confirmed that they pretend to be their own #1 fan. There's a particular VTuber out there that has a partner checkmark that I know of that does that. Snozberries is a terrible name for testicles. Well, too bad they're snozberries. Hi, Aknirith. How are you doing? It's titled SEO Trot Tortoise Backwards. Why? Marceline. All right, that's 40 squats IO. Why are y'all like this? But yeah, if y'all ever find any quote unquote, the thing is too, is this VTuber that I know already has a fetish theme. They already have the fetish theme, but they don't put this fetish that I'm pretty convinced that they're the one commissioning. Hi Fairbanks, how are you doing? Well, that's Vil. I know Vil. Everybody knows Vil has a foot fetish. That's not even a secret. I think it's actually in his like description or something. It's a Banks. It is a Banks. No. This is a VTuber who is into. Let me think. What's one of the best examples? We have a command for it in here. Sometimes it triggers Carrie if Carrie's around. And then they have massive tits. Do not go trying to guess his VTuber because I'm not going to tell you, and I don't want y'all just slapping names in here. But they do have seemingly a very strange underside. Hide the fireworks. Barely knows down in the VTuber. Tiny body, huge boobs. There you go. Very tiny body, huge boobs. Titty lolly, if you will. Are they bad? I'm not a fan. I am not a fan at all. Because Carrie? Fork found in kitchen? What? It is not that frequent. The thing too is I know there's VTubers out there that like don't have a foot fetish, but they think like the foot centric stuff is funny. Like I don't think Kira has a foot fetish, but I know Kira has like a foot model. Very aesthetic. I'm not going to be playing 20 questions with y'all for this person. But I will give you a hint on the stuff that I have seen of this VTuber that I see so much art of it that at this point, it either has to be them or it has to be some other super fan who keeps commissioning this shit for this one character. Just eating dinner and you chilling like a villain. Let's just say it's baby stuff. We're just going to say it's baby stuff. And move on. Hi, Roderick. How are you doing? I can't think of... I mean, the only fairy VTuber I can think of off the top of my head is Hester, but that's not even close to the person I'm talking about. Baron, why? I've existed on the internet way too long. Plus, when you go, like... So I recently like went back to my DeviantArt account. My DeviantArt account was like deleted and stuff, but I found out that if you log into it, it allows you to still basically skim over all of the stuff on Deviant. It's like, you can't view this unless you have an account. So I recently went back and started looking to see like what kind of fan art VTubers were getting. It doesn't bode well. It does not bode well when you just put in VTuber into the search bar on DeviantArt. I think I know who she is. Listen, Lucian, if you want, you can DM me. I mean, it's basically porn. I mean, it's fetish content, which is effectively porn. Prawn. That doesn't shock me. Yeah. It's called DeviantArt for a reason. True. Very true. The thing is, I had a DeviantArt account when I was a teenager. I deleted it like in 2015, 2016, something like that. But then like a couple months ago, I came back to it because I was like, I want to look and see if there's like Vampire the Masquerade art or Warhammer art. And then I was like, why don't I just see if there's like VTuber art that go up here? Because I know there's some artists on like Twitter, Blue Sky, blah, 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 that post their stuff on DeviantArt that still have like DeviantArt accounts, especially considering that some of the artists that I remember from my days in DeviantArt now follow me. And it's kind of, what's the word? Cathartic? Maybe the word's cathartic. Blue mentions. The prawn artist walk into the room. It's a bunch of shrimp. It's a bunch of shrimp holding like the like wooden art palettes. I know the shit I'll receive. Yeah. There's some weird stuff out there. And it's like I said before, this particular VTuber I know has been exposed as also pretending to be their #1 fan account. They have a separate Twitter account that they have pretended it wouldn't let me. Did it not let you send it at all? Can I like go accept it right now? Oh, it doesn't look like I can. All right, sure. I'll accept the friend invite for you to tell me if you got it right. Aww. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, well, Lucian didn't get it right. Okay. Catching birds is a warning. I can't be stopped once. It's a small but mighty. Hi, Thorn. How are you doing? All right, Lucian. I'm gonna do the unfriend thing. Boop. Okay. I'm glad I got rid of most of my social medias. I'm good. Hell yeah. Exposed as being their own #1 fan account. I changed my mind. Not who I was thinking of. Yeah. No. I also said small body. I didn't mean small like thin, like the person you're thinking. No. I mean like lolly, and very intentionally so. But again, if y'all try to guess it, I'm not going to tell you fully if you're correct. But yes, I can tell you the one that you guessed is absolutely not right. I can't be stopped. I catch birds mid-flight and geese love me. Do you do the seagull thing where you like go to the beach and like dig up shrimp and then just hold them in the air so that the seagulls come close and you snatch them out of the air? I think I'm going to cull a lot of my social media here soon. I mean, how many social medias do you have? Also, are you still doing the fan page? You're not still doing the fan page, right? Do you want to start a fan page on YouTube? I can show you how to do it. I remember it was you and... Who was the other one? Who was the other one that was making a fan page? Tickety Tack? Damn, no fan pages? Yeah, I was going to say, I think the fan pages have been dead for a little bit since the TikTok thing rolled over, because I think we're all American. I think both of the people that were running the fan pages are American. I have Corey for befriending my local Corvids. Corey? Courts. Okay. Sounds like a skill issue to me. That is not a skill issue. That is a conglomerate issue. Oh no, I just walk and yoink with both hands before taking a video. Need both hands to not hurt the bird? No. Yeah, making one on YouTube is not that hard. It works out. It's though I would tell you, I can give you like the guidelines on like what you want to set things to when you're uploading shorts to YouTube, because there's a lot more options on YouTube than there are on like TikTok. Number 1, make sure you change the creative licensing to Creative Commons and not to the YouTube standard. Number 2, unless you already have a big following, don't go sending things to your subscription feed. Uncheck subscription feed, because then the YouTube algorithm is more likely to just pepper it all over the website as opposed to only sending it to your subscription feed. Yeah, it's just brand accounts. Wait, which part's just brand accounts? I'm confused. Also, hold on, let me do these 40 squats before I forget again and it becomes 60. All right, let's do this. Did you hold very gently like a burger? Probably not. All right, we gotta do 40 squats. 1, oh God, today was leg day. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oh goodness, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Fuck you, Tuka. 21, 22, 23, 24. Sunstar, shoot Tuka in the face. Wait, was that 22 or 23? 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay, hold on. Tuka and I had the same idea. No, I mean it's Sunstar. Shoot Tuka in the face. Or I'll do it. Bruh. Scribbling down evil plans because I'm too sleepy to act them out at the moment. Why are you writing evil plans? Wife's face, shut the fuck up. Thank you, Sunstar. Oh my God, Queen. I stand by the fact that Queen is still the greatest band to ever live. Fuck you, everyone else. Queen's playing. Everybody shut up, Queen's playing! No, can y'all not hear the music? It's literally Queen. Oh my God, Lucian, seriously? Wait, what is this? Hold on, I just got a notification from Twitch about some new beta feature. Also, I still need to do 20 more, but let me get the wheel. Hey, Lucian, if this lands on doing more squats, you're getting shot for 20 minutes. Okay, thank God it's AMA. Okay, thank God. All right, Lucian, you get to ask a question. You get to ask a question. One of the greatest songs of all time? Correct. This is the 2011 remaster version. It's me. I'm the beta feature. It's okay. We'll look at it a second. This has got dual formats. Whew. All right, let's do these other 20. The question? Wait, what question? I can do it 10 more times in a row. I will fucking change the rules so that each person only gets one per stream and it's limited to a max amount per stream. All right, let's do this. 1. Well, that's 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Okay. What are all the campaigns you're currently in that we can watch, and where can we watch them? Currently, we only have the mage campaign. The vampire one is over now, and it is being uploaded to GM the Game Monsters channel. And then our mage campaign is being uploaded to Hectic_Wizards YouTube channel. Look on the bright side, you're going to have Chun-Li thighs. True. Think of a self-care. The self-care is brought to you by Gamer Subs. I should have advertised this weekend. There was 20% off the codes. Unfortunately, I think that's over now. Damn it. I fucked up. This is a perfect weekend for y'all to use the codes for Gamer Subs. I always forget that shit until it's too late. Because they send it to you like several days before it starts. And I'm always like, I'll tell them the day it starts. And then I forget. Why am I like this? I just thought of this. Would timeouts be more like being taxed because you get better afterwards? Though I guess being tased for 20 minutes might still be fatal. I mean, being tased for 20 minutes is definitely fatal, which is why tasers actually only stun you for like a split seconds. And pray for compliments self? No. No. What do you mean she hates our wallets? No, I love your wallets. It's also why I'm still considering reaching out to Ooh Market to see if I can like maybe just drop my like percentage so that it's more affordable. I mean, I might be able to do that. I don't know if they'll actually let me because they'll have to like rework the contract. Use the wallets to get more merch. Yes, you should get more merch. Everybody should get more merch. Especially VT Horizon. Because we have tons of cool knickknacks. And you can take me drinking with you anytime you go drinking. So you can get muddy when I do it? Okay. I have the hoodie. It's actually behind me on the bed. I'm not wearing it right now. Are we yapping today? No, we're going to be getting into Reanimal shortly, which the game has been open behind me this entire time. Yeah. I've been doing this so that like I can start the stream in the game. Because a lot of the games that we play are rated mature or close to that, or at least have the rating on Twitch. Which means if you haven't accepted the mature rating on your Twitch account and I swap games, it slams down the barrier on like, you have to accept that this is a mature game and you're willing to watch it. So I've been starting the stream in the game that we're going to play for the day and just have it behind me while we do shenanigans. Queen starting Meow Train? Oh no, are y'all starting a Meow Train? You've not Ubu Market, they're so slow. Well, yeah, it's because they have tons of fucking customers. And there's a slot. It does take a little bit for them to like make you whatever you're getting because again, all of the stuff is made in-house. I'm talking like all of the clothing and everything. They sew it themselves, they make them themselves. They print all the things themselves and then they ship them. But funnily enough, the shipping is the fastest part of the whole process because it usually takes like a couple weeks for them to get through the queue. So like I would expect if you order something from Ubu Market, give it like 3 weeks probably. Is probably going to be the case. But genuinely, my jacket, fucking phenomenal, dude. I love my hoodie. I usually wear it every single day. I'm just not wearing it right now because I'm not as cold as I usually get. I forgot. I turned the music up whenever they were playing Under Pressure. Speaking of Gamer Stops, use code Dark Carnival. So if we have more weird merch buyers, it would be less slow. I don't think it would be genuinely, just because, like I said, there's a queue system. In the case that like, it's basically the order that things are well ordered. So like if you order something right now, it goes to the back of the queue. So everything that hasn't been shipped out yet, that is still waiting in the queue is going to be made before whatever you order now. I don't think there's a priority system. I don't think the level of priority changes based on how big the seller is. I got a mat in the mail with your face and 2 face size things on it. I didn't remember ordering. Was this the work? Well, no, the mat is 2 face size things on it. The mat is from Fourth Wall. Under pressure? Under pressure? No pressure. Prussia? Prussia doesn't exist anymore, silly. Make more Baron merch like Mountain Coin? The thing is, I don't think I want to stretch much further because, I mean, VT Horizons is already really good. And there's thing I'm trying to avoid of like partnering with too many corporations. Like gamer subs I actively enjoy. There's not much else out there that I can think of that I'd be like, yeah, this will be great. I actually use this every day. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, fucking, Ironside PCs. I'm literally wearing their shirt right now. I'm wearing their Tokyo Vice t-shirt right now. And the PC I use is by Ironside PCs. Big fan. Really big fan. And they're from Texas. Didn't you win one? That's what I think it is. I think you won it from a competition for Fourth Wall because Axio sometimes starts giveaways because Fourth Wall allows giveaways. That may have been what it was. You may have won the giveaway and put in your information and then just forgot about it. We need a Mao and Booba mouse pad. Yeah, you didn't get the gold for it, but it's also, it seems though like VT Horizons can make one. I may talk to Broth Bowl if y'all really want one. I did in fact order one. Did you pay for it or was it the giveaway one? I think it was the giveaway. I'm pretty sure it was the giveaway one. That's also, if you don't ever want to get a pad for yourself, you can start a giveaway in chat during stream and people can work to win it. It will not cost you any extra money. If there's extra shipping costs that it incurs, I take the hit for it. Oh, that's ad break. All right, hold on a second, chat. I don't have words. Well, technically words, but the words that I did not have were the words that I needed. All right, let me get the game set up. I'm working on the iPad. Nobody panic. Nobody panic. All right, that'll do. And then really quick, let me see what this thing is that Twitch sent me, what this beta feature is. All right, what is dual format? Dual format streaming, Twitch beta. Streamers to broadcast in both horizontal, traditional, and vertical mobile utilized formats at the same time. This feature helps you reach more viewers by delivering an optimized experience regardless of whether you're watching on web or mobile. With more and more viewers coming to Twitch from their phones, dual format streaming ensures your stream looks its best everywhere. Dual format access is restricted to select streamers during beta, but any viewer can watch a dual format stream. The beta will help us. Okay, so I got the beta. Okay. Viewers on mobile will see a full screen vertical view of the stream if you hold the phone vertically, or a full screen standard horizontal view if they rotate their phone horizontally. System requirements. Only users with beta access will be able to stream in dual format at the time. Click here to request access. I already have that. Broadcast software required. OBS Studio 31.1.2 or newer. The vertical plugins for OBS, aka Atom Vertical. Okay, GPU requirements. That I have. Bandwidth bit rates. Maximum video tracks. Okay. In OBS, go to Settings Stream, click Enhanced Broadcasting under Multi-Track Streaming. Select Atom Vertical as your additional canvas in the same window. Check out troubleshooting tips if you run into issues. Disable backtrack in Atom settings by unchecking backtrack. Okay. How much time we got? 12 seconds? Hold on, I'm gonna keep reading this. Fucking up my mobile streams is the new feature? I don't think so, because I only just got the like notification that I got it 20 minutes ago. Okay. Twitch inspector to confirm. Interesting. Okay. Known limitations and bugs. Oh no. Oh no. Thing is, though, is I think I've had the vertical thing downloaded for quite a while. At least I'm pretty sure I did. Struggling Mariner Sims? No! I have to look for a new computer now because my PC I do art on is starting to have hard drive issues, but I probably have to go to Best Buy or something because I can't drop 2K on a PC. If the hard drive is having issues and you can't afford a whole PC, it's gonna be time to just get a new hard drive. I recommend finding the files that you know you need, saving them to a flash drive or like a passport or something. Also, thank you for self-care. Again, self-care brought to you by Gamer Steps. But just look for a new hard drive is your best bet. Get a solid state if you can. But yeah, MP, I would Sunstar. What happened? What happened, Sunstar? What did you do? Well, Sunstar. All the chats and voices getting to me? Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Is that why you're off your game? We did our best, the matches didn't pop up. A likely excuse. Are you giving excuses to Sunstar? I don't know. Also, very cute brick thrower emote. I like Angel's emotes. All right. Okay. Sunstar cracked under pressure. Sunstar Run attacks the guy that made import tax. Oh yeah, import tax with shipping things is pretty expensive. I feel like we're getting overtaxed these days. What do you mean you take money out of my paycheck? And then even though I own my house, you take money from because I own the house. And you take taxes when I buy things. What else is there? I mean, that already feels like it's too much. Why don't you just take the amount of taxes you need out of my fucking paycheck? Queens, why are you still singing Under Pressure? Pushing down on Sunstar. Road tax? Tax. Oh yes, fees and taxes. All right, kids. What the fuck is this song? All right. We'll put a pause here on the music. Did I? Hold on. I don't think I changed the... No, I didn't. I forgot to change... Ooh, there it is. Found the game audio. What I missed, I was clearing snow. Nothing. Oh, what the heck? I can't use my controller. Here, hold on. Let's try closing the game and reopening it. Reopen, says me. Bum 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 bum. Blinking tax. It fucking feels like it sometimes, man. She's slandering Vizzy in a collab sensor. Did you see it? What? Best played with the controller. Why doesn't the menu work with the controller then? Okay. I legitimately can't control. Here, let's do it this way. Unplug, replug. Still doesn't work. God damn it. That's okay. We'll be playing Dispatch for the Vizzy run through. Maybe next week, probably the week after though. All right, let's just get to the game and maybe then the controller will work. Still doesn't work here. I then forgot about it today, but I remember all the things. Wait, what? Oh, when I was over on Scotty's? Oh god, I'm lagging. Why am I lagging? Oh, compiling shaders. Duh. Duh. Yeah, but that also means we're taking Phenomenon on the team. Oh boy, heads. Anybody know what this game's about? Acceptable? Oh my god. The voices!
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Middle of the ocean.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
I can't, it won't let me use my controller. Why won't you let me use my controller? What the fuck? Okay, hold on. Masks. All right, it gave me mask. Hell yeah. You know, we'll leave it for now. Settings, gameplay, controls. Crouch is X? Call is C. Okay. I was kind of hoping to find like a switch or something that was going to tell me how to turn on controller, but I guess I can't play. That's what I was thinking, but it's not here. But none of these are like, only gameplay is the one that feels like it would be something. Oh yeah, I did see, I saw that sensor. I know it was the toggle, but the toggle one's going to be the most useful out of the two. Oh well, I guess we're doing mouse and keyboard then. Okay, I can steer it. Buoy. I hear water sounds. I don't like water sounds. God, the ambiance though. Now, I don't really control the camera much, it seems. Oh, there it is, way in the distance. These are getting further apart, I swear. Whoop. Oh, birds. Oh, I can't steer it anymore. Oh no. Oh, it's the girl. I think. Oh no, don't make me jump in the water. Don't make me jump in the water. Oh no. Oh no. She better just be right there. Oh, thank God. Okay. Using toggle? What do you mean? Sprinkling the fuck out of me and gotta look proud of you. How dare you? She lives! Hell yeah. Woo. Okay. So maybe dive into the water. Listen, I need clear conditions and an ability to see what's under the water, and not to be in a tiny horror game. This is no place to die, Seaman. They speak. What do you mean others? Cliff? Wall? Okay. That is... Oh, I have control again, apparently. Although I can barely see my own boats. Okay. I really don't know if... I mean, as long as there's not a large boat coming or something, it's fine having a light up. But you also don't know what's happening. Are there people looking for us? I'm guessing I'm going in the gigantic cave. Woo! Uh-oh. Is that gonna make waves? Or are we gonna get the unrealistic fact that the rocks... Oh, okay, I'm controlling her lantern with this. Okay. Oh, where are you looking? You're blinding me! Ooh, this way. Methinks. Again, I'm trying to get her to turn. She's not exactly easily controllable, it seems. More rocks! Boats! Boats! Oh no. This is the poke around concept we've been waiting for. I don't think the boat's gonna last very long though. Okay, don't touch the naval mine. They must have like washed ashore here. Oh god, burned trees? Okay, one of those landmines better not just like bob out of the... Oh wow, the grass is really pretty if it wasn't so fucking grim. What are those lights? What are those lights? Oh. Oh. A paper mill? Wait, there's a chest right here. There's a chest on the shore, too. Is this a lock? Another chest right there. Okay. This makes me think that I need to go ashore. There's barbed wire on the fence, too. That was weird. That was not at all the speed I was going, but okay. And then it looks like we can get back on the boat after. Okay, hold on. I want to check these. Hello, horrors? Nothing? You think it's you? Nope. Oh, oh, that is a big rant. Now, I'm only looking because the latest news on this game was apparently the devs telling everyone that there are, in fact, like, collectibles in the game. Oh, oh, a king. Plus, I kind of felt like this was going to be important, so I'm kind of glad I did that. So that's probably how we get in through that door. Hello. Okay, is there anything tucked away on the side? Little Job Factory, your mom's been in a terrible accident. Shut the fuck up. I feel like that's where we're gonna come out later, weirdly enough. Can I sprint? Oh my god, there's a sprint. Okay. Okay, it's just through like a really quiet gesture. So we're apparently not like that small, it seems at least. We're not like itty bitty like they like the characters were in Little Nightmares. Oh, I don't like pipes. Oh, I don't like pipes. The poo-poo pipes. What does that sound? Ooh, okay. Okay. Oh, it's starting up again. Okay, okay. I think I see. Keep moving, girl. Keep moving. Okay, there's another handle here. That's fine. Come on. Okay, hard tank. Self-care. All right. Ooh, okay, hold on. Okay, at least, oh god, it's dark. Light source. No? She has a lantern. I have a fucking lighter. I think this game would be a lot more fun if I had brought... Okay. Wow, you're really tall, mister. Oh. Okay. There we go. Yeah, this game actually has like a free friend pass thing that you can get as long as one person owns it. I kind of wish I'd grab somebody to play this with. Damn it. Break the objects around you to collect studs until you unlock new characters. New characters, new masks. Wait, I can break things? Hold on, what were the controls for that? Jump, run, light, call. Interacts? No?
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
I don't think I can. Also, who was that? No! Fish! Sad day at the carnival? Oh, it's fine. I just didn't want to drop it on... Wait, this looks like it can be opened. Oh, no, apparently I just climb on top of it. Nosy, nosy, nosy. It's behind my phone. I couldn't see it. Door. Okay, this is the balcony I was thinking of. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is not what we need to do yet, but it's good to know that that's where it is. I genuinely don't know. I have never played a game like this. There's somebody in there. Wait a second.
You came back.
Oh, is that another one of the kids?
I knew you would.
Is he gonna get goinked by something in the pipes?
You should leave. While you still can.
What does that mean? There's no breakables that I know. I was calling this a messed up Lego game. Ah, I gotcha. Nothing inside. What about you that's standing up here? Nothing important. Also nothing. Okay, do I actually leave? That's another interactable door. Okay, let's go see. We'll go see what's on the other side. Ah, it's locked. All right, then let's go check this other door. Okay. I can't see anything. Ooh. Okay. Also, European power plugs. Or is that Japanese? I think that's Japanese power plugs, weirdly enough. Gotta get you that dark vision? That's fine. I actually did turn the brightness up decently high. Power's on.
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
Hi, Gooping. Okay, hold on. What happens? Can I turn it back off? Oh, no, I can't. So... do I dare? Do I need to do like a running jump? Is that what I need to do? 3 whole months of Prime, Goopy. I just realized that was 3 months. Damn. BRB sandwich? What kind of sandwich? Industrial rock stomach. What? Oh, dead. Okay, so where does it put you when you die? Oh? What does that mean? Okay, but I can't turn it back on. Okay, it doesn't turn the camera for me. So... it seems like if I touch the tumbler, though, I just die. Let's go this way real quick. Ah, okay, I see. Go get him, bunny. Hi, Akon. How are you doing? Please don't die. I'm not gonna do the jump again. Oh, okay, I think I need to push this rebar down. She just hooves it. Okay. There's the sound. Skin? Okay. Oh. Smoke? Dust? Oh, okay. Okay, there's the ladder that needs to go down. Ooh. I feel like I can just jump that. Okay, I can. It seems like it's also auto jump because I'm not really touching anything. You never played? Oh, wait. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's another fall risk sign. Okay. Definitely looks like we need to go through that, but I must snoop first. Can I jump up? Nope. Okay, I guess we're going into the grate. Fantastic. Be on a Monday morning? Which part? Oh, hi, kiddo. Come back. Also, what does the pyramid mean? The kid had the mark on his face. Oh. He went this way, didn't he? This is not an actual direct. Oh, there's a ladder right there. Okay. Oh, fuck, that's the direction we gotta go. I think, unless that's the kid over there. Also, that's some of the shittiest railroad tracks I've ever seen. Oh, there's a bunch. Push the sightseer into the pit. Achievement unlocked. Poster. Concept art unlocked. Cool. Huh. Think you'd see Pyramid Head? I don't think it's gonna be that kind of thing. Okay, can't go that way. Definitely gotta go wherever he went. Hello? So there's a thing, hold on a second. So there's a thing I have with this game, chat. I've never played a like Little Nightmare-esque game like this on my own. Well, I've never played it. I don't even need to say on my own. I've watched some friends play it and here and there seen other people play it. But these games give me the heebie-jeebies that you get whenever you like, you're in a horror situation that you can't control. You know, when something's like running at you or scurrying at you. And the only thing you can do because you have no control over the situation is just kind of just curl up into a ball and be like, oh, get away from me. They're such good games. I've heard they're really good. I was going to say, if I enjoy this game all the way through, I may throw Little Nightmares. I hear you. Is this... No. It wouldn't be. Did they model this after... Auschwitz-Birkenau? You know, it sounds very tempting just to take the... Or at least to try and take it. Do I dare try the doors or do I just get on the thing? Horror streamer scared of horror games? Duh. What do you take me for? Okay, so that one's locked. Let's just try taking the thing. I feel like this is gonna turn into a chase scene and I'm gonna have to like... She not gonna... No? How do I get off? Oh, right click. Okay. Okay, hold on. Can I get on here and then call her? Let's crouch. What if I get on the other ends? I literally can't pull it. Okay, so... Oh, it's missing a wheel. Duh, it's right there next to it. Hi, wheel. Damn, we're pretty crafty, ain't we? Is it missing a wheel here, too? It is. Fuck. That's definitely what we're looking for, isn't it? You think it's going to be around here, or do you think it's going to be somewhere else? Could be in that wheelbarrow over there. Just checking. Just checking. Big oof. Dancing with the better you won't? Listen. Oh, nothing in there. Shit, we're gonna have to check the doors, aren't we? Fuck. Ah, god damn it. Okay. Ooh. Isn't the poster? Also. Fuck, 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 fuck. What are you? Can I actually fit through there? Oh, it didn't look big enough. Where the fuck did he go? Do you like climb through the wall? I can't fucking tell. Flush turlet. Please, do I have to climb through the man's torso? Oh. It's this toilet, isn't it? Please don't move leg. Please don't move leg. Please don't move leg. Oh, it's another old man skin. Oh, of course, we still have to go through the hole. Even though we're on the side that would have been locked. It's coming, isn't it? It's coming, isn't it? It's coming, isn't it? Is it you? You think it's gonna be this one? Oh, it's unlocked. So we can at least check it. Wait. Oh, this is... Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Oh! Oh, did I get a new mask? Is that what this is? Is this a new mask? Oh, it is. It's ugly. I don't want it. Automed killed my message. Oh, I missed it. You gotta work that 9 to 5? This isn't a 9 to 5. So this is an ammunitions factory. Okay. But those all look like giant bullets. And then there's only one bomb. And it's very well padded. Okay. Wait, what is this box? Not interactable. Okay, this is just an extra zone for a collectible. Got it. I'm not gonna lie though, the boy's voice whenever we like open a door and he goes here and like calls the girl over, it kind of freaks me out. But also, again, this looks like Auschwitz, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. This game also does feel very much like one of the ones that's just gonna be, their skin on the ceiling. Why do they all look the same? Oh, I just sit in chair. But this game very much has the vibe of a game. Oh. What are you? There's a bunch of these boxes. What is it? I can't tell what it is. Is it like a shoebox? Can. Oh no. We're gonna have to come back this way after we get the wheel, aren't we? Can't tell anything behind your big ass. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're just holding a box. But we're gonna come back this direction, aren't we? And that thing is gonna be here. I wonder if I could make her carry the wheel. I hope I can. Why do all the skins look the same? There it is. There's the wheel. Can I get you to carry it? You won't carry it. Okay. Oh, I missed. Oh my God. I thought it was gonna auto do it. Son of a bitch. Okay, that's fine. That's not too bad to just run from. Why do the skins move? Wait. Okay, no, they're still in the same ones. I was like, are they in different chests now? Okay, run! Whoop. I don't think I want to know what happens if they get me. Oh, hi. Move, 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 move. That door's gonna open. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm actually having to pump it. Oh, that's not gonna hold, right? Do we really want to pump this noisy thing through the woods? Sure, into the cave we go. Oh, I can't turn on a lantern or anything. Well, shit. A school bus? Maybe we are tiny because the scale of this world is like all over the place. Okay. It's Pig made by S'more. No, we're not listening to any music. Why would I be taking music requests right now? Pay attention. Stay on topic. Oh, it's the kid. Come here, bitch. Where are you running? Why is he running? Oh, I figured these games were like very metaphorical. Also, my legs are starting to hurt. Ooh, yay, more skins. Why does every person look the same? Oh no, he looks under. Can I sneak around? No, I can't. Oh, he's gonna see her in just a second. Okay, and he's gonna go after it. I think I actually need to go out after him. Shit, don't I? Yeah, because we're going after the kid. Hello? Oh! No. God damn it. Oh my god. Hi, Lex. Thank you for self-care. I'm at a gamer sub, so we're on to water. Is this before or after? Oh, it's after because the suitcase isn't on the thing anymore. I very much got scrunched. Oh my god, get off.
There's our man. There's our man. There's our boy.
Okay, so was it the lights? Is that what it was? I think it's because I got in the light. I think his head's like so twisted that he legitimately like can look in all directions. Can I get up there?
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone?
Shut up.
Stay calm. Wait. Everybody calm down.
He's gonna find a way in, isn't he? Put the fucking light. Oh, never mind. There's a side right here. Whoop! Definitely not the way to go. Hello? Oh, we're gonna move the train? Do I get to pilot the train? Oh my god, is it just handles? Really? Here, you hold that one. I hit X at the same time. Pull! Ooh! That's not good. Nope! Gross, 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 gross. Oh, hi. Oh, I got stuck. Oh my god. I got confused by the kid. God damn it. Damn, he really does just eat my head off. But why? What are these things? Okay, so this is before we pulled the levers. I was looking at the girl and I was looking at the kid when he jumped out from under the... Okay, bye. Go, 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 go. Oh god, we're like inside of each other. Bad touch! Bad touch! I almost just jumped off the fucking train. Uh-oh. I'm the one that gets left behind. Man, that kid's got fucking hustle, dude. Jump! Jump! Okay, 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 okay. Ooh, why is it turning red? Why are you still here? We're gonna jump off this and this whole thing's gonna fall into the crevice, isn't it? Can I get down? Oh, probably gotta get down here. I did not consent, sir. Not even a little bit. Ooh. What are you doing? Are you stuck? There you go. There's a path that way, but... Okay, it just ends. I quit watching to avoid spoilers because I want to stream this someday. That makes sense. But will you please hang out? What? Okay. I really do want to know the lore of this game because now I'm interested in, like, why are there skins everywhere? Why do so many people all look the same? What are the monsters? Why do they eat me when they catch me? No. Why are the skins aggressive like snakes? But why do they sound like dogs? Oh no. Okay. Oh, why did I stop? Oh, do I need to loop them? Is that what this is? Oh, wait. I think I need to go this way. Okay. Ah, yes. A fence. A snake's worst enemy. Get it? Oh, we're gonna push this tree down? Actually, hold on. I'm nosing. I gotta go look. We gotta go snoop. Skin dogs make my spine cold in the middle. That's a new feeling. I don't like them one little bit. Why are they like that? Oh, a saw. Ah, that's probably what we need. Hi, Mr. Chicken. Don't know why that chicken was just... Oh, it didn't have a head. Its head sitting on the stoop. I'm an idiot. Oh, did I say stoop? I meant stump. Stump. I keep finding the items I need by, like, coincidence mostly. And less so out of necessity. Oh. Heals us so well the day goes. It's a pretty neat concept. And I always thought that these games were, like, really fucking spooky. Because, God, just look at the forest. There's skins hanging from those trees. Oh, my God. And it does the thing that, like, some horror games tend to do. And same thing with, like, Elden Ring and, like, Dark Souls games do. Jesus Christ. Where they just throw you into a world already gone to hell. And you just got to figure out what the fuck is happening. And it's very compelling to be like, my sheer curiosity needs to know. But why? Oh my God, it's the truck. Why did it have to be an ice cream truck? You're gonna give me more fears of ice cream trucks. He's gonna come through that fence, isn't he? Okay. Okay. Oh. I thought I got on the rock. Hup. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. Obligatory Logan Paul Japan joke. No. No, you can't say that. I banished you back to the 20 teens. That's not allowed. Wait, did it? Was it? Yeah, I guess it was. I was in college at the time when that happened. is he? Oh shit, run! Where am I? Oh, I'm the one in the middle. He does actually seem to like kind of wait. Nope, he's not waiting. Oh, thank God. He got stuck, he's gonna get out, isn't he? Oh, nope, he's just gonna adjust. Follow the girl, she knows where we're going. Oh no. No, our boy! Okay. Is there something I should do? Okay. Oh, it's still off at the distance. There's another car! How did he get around this? Oh, I have to actually pull on it. Oh. We just took off the parking brake, apparently. You have your license, Jeeves? I have my license. I just can't reach the pedals. I use the center block and a rope. The ladder here. Oh, it's broken. Never mind. Oh, God, there's a town. Also, can I open the trunk of this? It looks like I can, but I guess not. That's a corpse. I love the setting of this game so much. The ambiance is so good. Ooh. Shit falling apart. Okay, maybe over here? No, that's not something. Oh, there it is. And then we can get up and through here. Wait, can I open you? Oh, it's a door. Anything special? Nope. Is that the ice cream truck right there? Whoa. Yeah, that's definitely the ice cream truck. Low income neighborhood? I don't think it's that, oddly enough. I'm pretty sure we gotta go through that garage door that's on the left. I wish my controller was working. This would be a much funner game if I could just kind of sit back and relax a little bit more. I kind of want to know if I could find some... Oh, I feel bad. Because now I want to find somebody to go through this whole game with me. Because it'd be really fun. Like, maybe I'd be able to do it with, like, Rye or someone. Actually, Tia has this on her wish list. On their wish list. Hello? Mannequins. Tailors? Okay, there's glass. I feel like I'm gonna have to break that window. Ooh. Why did you do that? Oh, she pushed the head off. Maybe I need to take the head. You gonna let me through there? Nope. Okay. I was thinking that was gonna be something special. Get head? Yes, getting head. You got it, Bouse. Hey! I'm sure that's fine. The gate. Okay, hold on. The gate's definitely going to be locked. I can see the chain on it. Oh, maybe we'll break it later or something. Maybe we steal his car and we drive it through it. Oh. He's just going with him? Oh. He just didn't notice. All right, chat. Oh, no, a cinema? All right, chat. We're going to pause it here really quick because I think we're going to get to some good bits and pieces as soon as we go inside. And we have less than a minute, and I really got to pee. I really got to pee. So I will see y'all in a couple minutes. I'll give y'all the music in the ad break and see y'all in just a bit. Have fun. Don't burn anything down. Actually, go ahead. Burn things down. Cheebs says so. Cheebs demands it. Have fun, kids. Wait, weren't you going to go get a sandwich earlier, or was that somebody else? Ooh, I could go for a sandwich. Too bad I didn't get sandwich stuff when I was at the grocery store earlier. Damn it! What song is this? What the fuck? I forgot to mute. That's okay. You heard me clear my throat. That's basically it. And or me chomping on a pickle when I walked past. That's fine. That's fine. Everybody deserves a pickle as a snack. That's the one thing I didn't realize, because before like this new jar of pickles I got, this is random by the way, this is very random. The new jar of pickles that I got is just like Vlasics. If anybody knows what Vlasics are, They're really, really crisp pickles. But before this, the last pickle thing I got was like those. You did fail, Sunstar. Are you ready to be skinned? Oh, no, that's beef. Beef doesn't have skin. All right, beef. I think we're unbeefing your skeleton. Yeah, I think unbeefing the skeleton sounds like a good idea. Also, I'm going to put this controller away because I've had it sitting in front of me this whole time like it's spontaneously going to start working. I don't have skin. That's okay. We can also unbeef you. How do you unbeef me? We're removing the beef. What do you mean? But on the pickles thing. Before this, does anybody else at their like local grocery store have the like, oh, that's not the right thing. Have the like super fancy pickles that are almost like always in the refrigerated section? You know the ones that's like a local brand. The pickles look like nearly picturesquely perfect, but they're like $10 or $11. That was the last jar of pickles that I had before I got this jar of Vlasics. And it kind of skewed me on what the price of a pickle jar is. Because I got a really big jar of Vlasics and it was $4. Technically less than $4. It was like $3.70 something. And I'm like, man, I guess I should probably just be buying these cheaper pickles if I really just want like the pickles and the pickle juice. I like my pickles. What do you think of bread and butter pickles? I think bread and butter pickles are delicious. They're very sweet, or at least like sweet adjacent. I don't know what to call the flavor of bread and butter pickles. Oh, I was going to talk about the price of pickles because they're stupidly expensive for no reason. I just thought it was weird that those pickles always look so fucking like picturesque. They're like every single one of them is the same size, same perfectly straight cucumber that they pickled. And I'm just like, that's exactly the same. For liking bread and butter pickles? What's weird about liking bread and butter pickles? I've even had a spicy version of bread and butter pickles that are pretty good. I found brands taste better than others for pickles. Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. It also depends on which pickles you get. There's kosher pickles, like Vlasics. I think mine are kosher dill pickles. You can get them with like out dill where they're just straight vinegar, so they're like really sour. Also depends on the cucumber that they're pickling. Who remembers, if you grew up in America, who remembers in like high school or middle school going to a sports game and ordering a pickle at the concession stand and it just being the biggest, fattest, sourest fucking pickle you've ever had in your life? She says pickles aren't supposed to be sweet. Has she considered that there is a plethora of flavors for pickles? Does she like spicy pickles? Or does she think pickles should only be sour and salty? Disinformed about pickles should just marry them at this point. Why would I marry pickles? They're inanimate objects that I'm going to eat. Nobody put Vor in chat or I swear to God you will be shot. She only thinks pickles should be sour and salty? Wow, what a limited world she lives in. Tell her I said that. Tell her I said that. V, what about V? Why is Moon Bitch dead? What did Moon Bitch do? Sadly, yes, and I will. What limited food world do you live in? Are you telling me you do not enjoy spicy pickles, sweet pickles, candied pickles? What about the pickles that are brined in Kool-Aid? I've actually never tried those, but I've heard they're good. Pickle to chief? Put me in a pickle jar? Wait, that's a better idea. You know those people that always make the like raunchy, of course, like suspicious white stuff inside pickle jar art and stuff? Or not pickle jar, inside a jar that has suspicious white stuff in it? I want a version. Yeah, there's Kool-Aid pickles. Here, hold on a second. I'll even get you a picture. Let me get the browser. Then we need Kool-Aid pickles. Sometimes you can even find them at gas stations. They're usually here in the South. So these are the ones people are making themselves. I want the product. Marinated dill pickles with fucking Andrew Zimmern. Gedney's whole dill Kool-Aid pickles. Wickles. Dirty dill spears. Ah, yes, I know Wickles. Wickles is short for Wicked Pickle, which was actually got famous because of its for making spicy pickles. That was their thing. But because I know I've seen like pouches. Pouch. There it is. Not the hot mama. That's not it. Sour apple Kool-Aid, extra sour. Although that is a extremely grainy picture that I am borderline suspicious that it may be fake. Oh, there's also the pickle in a punch, the Warheads pickle. Trying to enjoy my crackets, this slight laugh making it hard to get it done. Yeah, it's a red pickle. The Kool-Aid turns it red. But yeah, there's also the Warhead. What was the one that we had? Oh, it was the sour cream and onion Pringles pickle. That's the one that we ate on stream. That was awful. That thing had like the worst fucking like aftertaste. Ugh. Yeah, didn't like that one. Mirren's also red. Yeah, Warheads made a pickle, and the picture that I was looking at was blue. It was the blue Warheads. The thing is I don't think it's Warheads specifically making it. It's one of the very popular brands that makes like single packaged pickles. They usually sell like the gigantically fat and sour pickles. But that's also where I got like the sour cream and onion pickle from. It was that same brand. They partner with like other companies to basically turn their flavors of products into a pickle. And God, that sour cream and onion was nasty. I ate the whole fucking thing. Sunstar, is Marion still pickling you? No, Sunstar's in an empty jar. I'm not allowed Sunstar to have entertainment other than stream. Pickled to Cheap's Parade? What? I do actually like pickled chips though, I'm not gonna lie. Either like dill flavored chips or I think like Pringles and some potato chip companies have like pickle flavored chips. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. When are we getting bioluminescent pickles? Do you want me to make a bioluminescent pickle? It probably wouldn't be edible, but I could do it. Why the fuck am I in another jar now? What do you mean another? You've been in the same jar this whole time. Anyway, let's go inside the cinema chat. Or chats. Or we put this on hold. We go do something else. We could do Dystopicon. We could do Dystopicon. Oh, well, there's only like an hour and a half left to stream. If we stop now, we can start the game over. And I will grab someone that we can play this game with in the future. Could do food stuff. We could do food stuff. We're not going to have any other chatting day this week. Do y'all want to do that? We can do that. Yeah, figure out what the problem is with the controller. I thought it was like Steam input being really stupid before stream started, but it was like, your controller is partially functional with this game. And then it was like, oh, but you're using Steam input, so it may be partially broken. And I clicked and I was like, turn off Steam inputs? Sure. Yeah, I think this would be more fun as a collab. I'm really enjoying this game. And I'm totally fine with like redoing the section that we've done so far with somebody else. And we can do it next week. We'll do it like next Tuesday or Wednesday. Because right now I'm trying to put together another... You want to leave? Yes. Okay. We'll do yapping instead. So let's swing over to the chatting screen, which I actually just have to do this. Have to do this kind of shenanigans. Oh, I did. I did turn it off. That's exactly what I was going to say. I turned it off before stream. I turned like the Steam input. Oh God, I can. Ugh. I'm sorry. The fucking taste of the sour cream and onion pickle is so in my mind. I can taste it. It's like on the end of my tongue. Hi, Crow. How are you doing? Here, let's do this. Let me change it. We'll change to just chatting so that we're not misleading anyone, if you will. And then what I'm going to do, just so that people know, is we'll do a little pin here. In scrunching range, get her, no! All right, so let's do, Oh. Okay. We good? I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing good, Crow. Today's a pretty good day. Even though I slept in a little bit longer, like an hour, and I like ended up starting late, blah 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 blah. All that jazz. Oh my God. The voice actors of Ed and Eddie got together for a convention? That's cute. Okay, chat, do we want to do some history stuff? Like tasting history, or do you want me to see if Dancing Bacon has anything, or do we want to do a market? Hold on a second. I need to do some swapping around. All right, history, Dancing Bacon, please. All right, we'll have enough time to do both if Dancing Bacon has some new stuff. Yes, Max, please and thank you. Okay, let me go find Dancing Bacon. The history of food at the market? I don't think there's anything that's gonna be that specific. Oh, also, let me give you all the music. Instead of having the strange, awkward silence like the poor VOD users have to deal with. Costco, Taiwan. Value train bento. $113 experience on Sanrio sightseeing train. Okay, these I'm not particularly excited for. I like the restaurant ones because they're usually pretty neat and pretty interesting. I don't like the ones where he just like gets on as much as I love trains, I don't like the ones where he just kind of gets on the train and eats food. A deep dive on pickles? Ooh. Okay, hold on a second. Is there a tasting history video on pickles? Vampires versus garlic 4 years ago. Why vampires hate garlic. A Transylvanian recipe from 1580. Ancient Greek olive relish. There's the garam episode, which I actually do like the garam episode. The poor VOD uses of which you can become if you something continue promotion. Food history pickles by Mental Floss. I don't know what this is. Oh, okay, this is just a dude talking to a webcam. The profile made me think it was something like drunk history for a second. I don't think it is. It could be a spiritual successor, maybe. But I want to say they're made by two different studios. They're very similar in playstyle, though, Grins. Also, Grins, I have some things for you in Terraria next time you get on. I did not get an obsidian rose, so I hope you got an obsidian rose already. Wait a second. What is this? Cthulhu the Cosmic Abyss prologue trailer released 2 hours ago? It's less than a minute. Oh, do we want to leave it as a surprise? Okay, but wait a second. I'm hovering it to see what it looks like. It looks like a Unity asset game. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It really looks like a Unity asset game, though. Playing Terraria again? I've been playing Terraria again with Grins and like Boosh and a bunch of other folks because I played it back in like 2017, I think was the last time I played it. It's really good. It's really good. All right, maybe we'll do the Transylvanian recipe with like the garlic and stuff, but we'll see. Wall of Flesh, easy. I mean, with the last boss that we have on Boosh's server is the Wall of Flesh. Are we going to go fight the Wall of Flesh sometime soon? Damn, flipping them Unity assets. I also have an extra Pwn Hammer if anybody needs it. Since killing the Wall of Flesh, I think only drops a single Pwn Hammer. Back when it was first released. Yeah, the last time I played it, like some of the best armor in the game, I think it was either the Hallowed Armor or something just above the Hallowed Armor. And now there's a bunch of armors above that. So I have a lot to catch up on. The thing is, I tried to fight, last night when I was playing, I was trying to I beat 2 of the 3 mechanical bosses. I beat the twins and I beat the Destroyer. I have not beat Skeletron Prime yet. And I don't look forward to trying him again because I tried him last night. I was beating the shit out of him. And then a fucking wyvern showed up for no reason and just I was beating the ever-loving fuck out of him. And then this wyvern showed up and absolutely like tossed my salad. I'm a saddle in Little Nightmares, so maybe Reanimal will be my experience. That's exactly what I was doing. Like I said, in the pin thing, I'm enjoying the shit out of the game. The ambiance is great. The style of it makes it terrifying. But I feel like it'd be really fun to play with somebody else. 1.2, the final update for sure this time. Probably, maybe. Is it 1.2? I thought it was like 1.3 or past 1.3 now, wasn't it? Thing is too, is even then the people who make, thank you for self-care, people who make Terraria always show up like 4 or 5 years later and they're like, anyway, new update. I thought the Zenith was the best sword. Fucking 7-Eleven, I saw that. I can see your 6-7 attempt there. Nice try. You tried to drop it and then poof out by using Vor. It's 1.7 at this point? Ah, that makes sense. Because I do know there was some stuff that were added like 1.3, mainly because I keep having to look at the wiki to figure out recipes for things. You just said the thing? I did say the thing. You are technically correct. But let me see real quick. What do we have new? Okay, so the newest thing is the Neolithic Stonehenge. Goodness, Neolithic Stonehenge Feast. Is that the one we want to do? Do we want to do Neolithic meals, chat? Do we want to talk about the earliest years of the human race and civilization as a whole? In Monster Hunter, what's your weapon? Sword and shield. Sword and shield. Max defenses so that I get to absolutely fight. She said the thing. No! Troy Calamity mod got the first half of a major update earlier this month. I don't know what's in the Calamity mod, and because I've never done like the base game, I don't think I would download the Calamity mod anytime soon. Because I don't even know what the moon stuff or space stuff is. I have no idea how to get to that or anything like that. I still hit the top of the skybox above the Sky Islands right now. Calamity is too much for me? Is it? What does it add? Is it like another mode on top of hard mode? I kind of want to do the Neolithic one. Let's do that. I do need to change the audio settings really quick. Gimgan. And then we'll go over to screen, which I need to fuck around with this really quick. I have to do this all by hand because Jeeves does not actually have like the right toggles and stuff to like move appropriately, if you will. And then where is it? There it is. Hi, Max. Look at that handsome devil. All right, Breaking Benjamin, shush. Even though I don't know any of your songs. Jeeves goes in the box, Mary gets rid of all the toggles. No. She has toggles. But I can show you. Let me go here. She has position toggles, but it's like, this is the chatting one, game body, game head. It's on the wrong side because we used to stream on this side. So, you know, just not properly set up because we don't really use it much anymore. I could try swapping to 2.0 at this point since we're not doing, that's 31 bosses? What the fuck? Why? That sounds like it's more than the number of bosses in the regular game.
Stonehenge is one of the most famous monuments on Earth, and yet there are still so many unanswered questions about it.
Really loud.
Why
Jesus.
was it built? How was it built?
For
And most
religious ceremonies.
importantly, what did the people who built it eat for dinner? Well, today I am
With
making
pulleys.
2 dishes that may have fueled the Neolithic
And
builders of
ramps.
Stonehenge: pork ribs with honey and blackberries, and a bowl
Ooh.
of nettle and hazelnut soup. We eat
Nettle?
like the builders of Stonehenge. This time on Tasting History.
Chat, are you ready to learn about the ancient druids of England?
Last month I went to
You know,
Scotland to celebrate the New Year, or Hogmanay,
before they
as
tried to
they call it.
standardize the
And while
entirety
I
of
was
Europe?
there, I got to meet up with Bruce Fumi from the channel Scotland History Tours, and he took us into the Highlands.
Reminder, chats. Minor reminder. England was colonized too. Europe was colonized too. Marin would know she was there. Chaos. Anyway. Sunstar, you're on fact check duty? Is he? Are they? Some recent addition has the same amount of bosses as base game. Oh, not the Mystery of the Druids. Are you talking about the game? Where's the blacksmith? I remember that stone. Of course you do, Ordain. It's a stone. It's very cool.
Islands where we encountered an ancient stone circle. And it was so cool because it was just like right there on somebody's farm. Thousands of years old and nobody around to appreciate it. It was really a fantastic experience. And while I was there, I, of course, thought, what do the people who built this stone circle and the other stone circles of Britain eat? Well, this would be...
Hold on. We're going to pause it here. Fun fact, chat. They didn't just use stone to make these monoliths or these basically circular structures. I believe it's on the east coast of England. Actually, I think it's on the east coast of Scotland, more specifically. Is an old... I believe it's called Woodhenge. No, that's not it. That is not the one I was looking for. Oh, what was it called? Seahenge? Was it Seahenge? Yes, it was. Okay. So, maybe the best example here is... Yeah, the Norfolk Seahenge. Oh, good lord. So this is Seahenge. This was discovered after a major storm off the coast that essentially pulled all the water back out to sea, far lower than it usually is, and revealed this, a nearly perfectly circular structure, which doesn't exist anymore. It does not exist in its purest right anymore because, of course, they fucking did this. The British Museum tore it up. They came in, and because they knew that the tide was going to come back in and completely cover it up, they pulled it out and put it in the museum. Also, yes, these tips here are all logs. They're whole trees that were jammed into the ground. Stonehenge was made, fucking morons piling rocks into each other, but it's cool and it's for religious ceremonies more than likely. Oh wait, this is bad? Yes, it is. Kind of, sort of. Because, I mean, they saved it from and still being, like, partially preserved. I don't even think they have all of the logs. I think they only took a portion of the logs. The funny thing, too, is there's actually multiple of these sites. There was this one, and then I believe it was 10 years later or so, they found another one that was actually further down the beach. And if I remember correctly, the general idea behind these is that they were likely, very likely, the... religious sites of people from Doggerland which... Let me get you a picture of Doggerland here. That's actually a pretty good example. Doggerland was the massive landmass that used to connect England to the rest of Europe prior to the end of the last glacial maximum. So as basically the snow started to melt and everything, the entirety of Doggerland, which was before like a low-lying wetlands, it was all traversable. The fucking British, they're going into our museum. Oh god. We stealing and can't even steal properly? What the fuck, Britain? How empty a British museum would be if they gave back all their shit? They should. They should. They should 100% give their shit back. I'm not even joking. Not even a little bit. Medieval age? What do you mean medieval age? What do you mean, Tuka? At this point, it has to be illegal. I wish it was. I think Germany also has a problem with taking other people's stuff. Doesn't Germany own the Gate of Ishtar or something? From, is it Syria? I think it's Syria. There was land there. How aren't we allowed to make more land? It's not making more land. This was just the water levels were much higher. And as glaciers globally melted, the water raised above Doggerland. Thing is, too, is right now, even today, you can go and fish above Doggerlands, and part of the peat bogs that previously made up Doggerlands now float basically in the water column. And because that happened, let me see if I can find it. I need the Doggerland spear. There it is. This little beauty, this bone spear, was found, I believe it was in either the 70s or the 90s. I can't remember for sure. By fishermen. They were fishing and pulled up a peat bog, just a chunk of peat. And inside of it was this spear. I believe it either currently is or used to be the oldest archaeological item we ever found. Hot and spicy Cheez-Its. Ooh, the Tabasco ones. But yeah, fun fact. The Dutch made their own land. We fight with the sea. Let us do it. I mean, that's because you live fucking below sea level. You built dikes. I was guessing the logs were in the medieval age. Oh, no. No, much older than that. Thousands of years older than that. Older than 10,000 years. Because Doggerland existed 10,000 years ago. And over the course of about 3,000 years, as the glacial maximum reduced, and the whole world kind of warmed up, and most of the water on the planet returned to, being water instead of being glaciers, it flooded. It raised the sea level several feet. The sea had it coming. Why did the sea have it coming? Yeah, it's far older than medieval period. Medieval period is 1,000 to 14,000, isn't it? Right? 14,000, not 14,000, 1,400. 1,000 to 1,400, right? Roughly? There's probably a more specific period. Because it didn't have it going, but the sea had it coming. Oh, because it didn't have it going. I get it. Are you proud of yourself? Sunstar, are you proud of yourself? Are you feeling hee-hoo funny? Do we need to talk about this? Man. 100% of killers drink water. Not John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy drank purely Diet Coke. I don't misinform. I just lie. Or Dane the Fox Mermaid because he's under the sea. Oh my god. All right, anyway, back to Neolithic shenanigans.
1500 BC. So there is a lot of guesswork involved, but there is also a lot of archaeological
Anyway, I need some water. Speaking of water.
Point us in the right way. Much of that archaeology actually comes from a site known as Durrington Walls, which lies just 2 miles
those the Roman
northeast of
walls?
Stonehenge, and is thought to have been used as the living settlement for the people who were building and using the site.
Oh.
the Durrington walls, there is evidence of some of the foods that people were eating along with the different preparations. For instance, bones. During the
ham
second
bones.
phase of Stonehenge's construction, around 3000 to 2500 BC, those living at Durrington walls left over 38,000 animal bones for
John
archaeologists
Gacy is
to
Matt
find.
Pat?
And about
No. Wait, Matt
90%
Pat
of those
only drinks
bones
Diet
belong to
Coke.
pigs, and most
That
of the
sounds
rest
more
of the
like,
bones belong to
what's his
cattle.
name?
And
Asben Gold,
most of the
who legitimately
pigs
can't
seem
drink
to have been
water.
slaughtered at about 9 months old, meaning it was probably midwinter. And that totally makes sense because that is a typical time for feasting, and Stonehenge was built to line up with the setting midwinter sun and the rising midsummer sun. The sun appearing right
yes,
between
the
two of the
solstices.
tallest stones on those 2 days, so it only makes sense that on those days, many people would be around feasting. What else we know about the pigs is that they were probably fattened on something sweet. Due to a certain type
Honey?
of decay in their teeth, it is
Like a honey
likely
candy,
that they
maybe?
were eating something high in sugar, and at that time in Britain, that would mean either honey and or berries of some sort. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a honey-fed pig, so instead I'm going to just use honey in the actual recipe for the pig. So for this
That'd be an
recipe, what
interesting
you'll need
method of
is
raising
rack
a
of pork
pig.
ribs,
Hold on,
2
hold on.
tablespoons of salt,
So if you were incorporating honey into a pig's diet, and they said they were only 9 months old, a Neolithic pig likely wouldn't be very big at 9 months, but how would you incorporate into the feed? Would you still be feeding it grains? Milk? I could see milk. Oh, okay. If they were feeding it as a baby. The thing was, dairy cows aren't native to England, are they? Is there a native species of cows to England? Do we know? Oh, it could have been any mammal's milk, really. You may be right, Rivet. I'm actually curious. Hold on a second. Are there native cows in England? Okay, so we have those, but hold on. Where did cows come from? Aurochs. Okay, that would make sense. If they were using Auroch milk or something similar. Okay, across Europe, Asia, North Africa. Okay, so they probably spanned over there. They probably reached across Doggerland to England. That makes sense. That makes sense.
a half cup or 170 grams of honey, a quarter cup
Some
of
guy's
blackberries
mom
or
shut the
sloe
fuck
berries.
up.
Sloe berries are actually ideal because they would probably still be around by midwinter.
Wow, those are some serious
but finding
pits.
fresh sloe berries where I live is pretty much impossible, so I'm going with blackberries. Then an optional
Okay.
1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. And I am adding this
that's to
because
substitute the grill
they
flavor?
know by certain
Auric. Thank you,
scorch
Rivet. Thank you for
marks
spelling
on
it.
the bones of the animals that they were mostly
They're
cooked over
older,
an open
larger
fire.
species of
And
cow that is
I
now
would love
basically
to
extinct.
Make a pig over an open fire, but this show is all about making food in my kitchen, and I'm not going to make an open fire in my kitchen.
Yeah,
So
I figured that was
to
what
add a bit
the
of
liquid
that
smoke is
smoky
for.
flavor, I'm just going to add some liquid smoke. So first, remove the silver skin from the ribs. You want to slice the
course.
back of the ribs with a knife and then peel the membrane off, and it is easier to grip it with a
I've
paper
never
towel.
done
Then
it
take some of the salt and rub it into
slicing
the
it through
ribs
the
on
middle.
both
I've never had an
sides,
issue just
and
pulling the
any
whole thing
salt
off.
that's
That's
left over,
weird.
you can put into the honey glaze. For that, you add the salt to the honey, then add the liquid smoke, then mash the berries and add those to the honey and mix it
Okay.
all together. Spread about half the glaze over the ribs on both sides in a pan that is fitted with a rack. Then set the ribs in the rack with the meaty side down and place them in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 Celsius for an hour and a half.
Hitting the mute
You can
button
also
on the
wrap
darn
the ribs in tin foil, and that'll keep the moisture in. So you
No,
have
we're
to
not
cook them
milking
at a lower
orcs.
temperature, like 275 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm gonna save this for
a
later. You
much
should.
longer time.
It'd be a very interesting
I'm
meal.
just not doing that because I figured, well, they didn't have foil.
Plus, doing these
in,
meals. Okay.
Neolithic Britain.
I am an obnoxious cook. I don't cook that often right now because it doesn't feel like it's my kitchen to be able to do that stuff. And I usually get side comments that really just makes me not want to cook. But I love cooking. I do. But I'm an obnoxious cook, like think Hannibal Lecter style, where he like makes something way over the top, and then the entirety of dinner is just me explaining like the historical significance, the origin of it, and like where it came from, and like all that other shit. I just think it's funny. Cooking stream soon after Move. If I ever get confident enough to do it, I would.
And again, they also didn't have an oven like this in Neolithic Britain, so yeah.
Really building up these cooking streams. Listen,
After
it's
an hour and a
fine.
half, take the ribs out and coat them again with the rest
It'll
of the
work
glaze,
out.
and
It'll be
return them
fine.
to the oven, this time with the meaty side up.
A hyper
And cook
snack
those for another
station?
30
Yes.
to 45 minutes or until the meat is nice and tender and just falling off the bone.
Damn
also,
right.
If you want, you can use beef ribs. They are just a bit bigger, so
Hi,
you'll have to
Serps.
cook it for a little bit longer.
Hold on a second.
Those are not going to...
Serps, is your name on, I think it was Twitter? Is your tag supposed to be BlackCell22? X BlackCell22X? Because for some reason, that's what it was when I looked at you. Well, you like tagged me earlier. And yep, okay, I'm just making sure this is the right one. I was very confused by it earlier. I was like, did Serps get like hit with like the bonk hammer and that's like a randomly generated tag or something? It's when I was trying to be a YouTuber in high school. Good Lord. You know you can change that, right? You know you can change your tag, right? And I refuse to change it? Okay, never mind. Carry on.
As big
Carry on then.
as the ribs that they could have had in Neolithic Britain, and that is because aurochs were still roaming the land.
I was
back
right.
then. Aurochs being the wild ancestor of modern cattle, and they were absolutely huge. And in the 1920s,
Oh, yeah.
the ditch
Oh, yeah,
around
baby.
Stonehenge was partially excavated, and in it were found the bones of aurochs. Specifically,
They're
on
very
either
pretty
side of
animals.
the southern entrance, there was a skull on one side and a jawbone on the other. Though they are now
Oh.
extinct, so you'll just have to settle for either a pig or cow. Now, for our second
Ow.
dish, we do have less archaeological information because
Beef, you
during
goofball.
the summer, they ate a lot more
Chat-
plants.
not chat.
and
Spencer, can I
plants
just shout out for
don't
Serps?
leave as much archaeological
For
evidence
Serpent
as,
Mythos?
say, bones.
The one and only?
So there isn't as much, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some evidence. First off, we know
many
that they
snake
cooked a lot of
VTubers do I
things
know?
in pots. In
Serps,
the south of Britain,
Akami.
where Stonehenge is, they were known for a style
That it?
of
Is that where the
rude
list ends?
pottery that made it almost look like a basket. And
Oh, the
chemical
other
analysis
Kira?
shows that
There's
they
a
were
Kira
used
that I
for
know that's
cooking
Lamia.
over or next to a fire. This very likely meant a
Milk-fed dog is still a meal in certain parts of Europe.
But they were also used
Yeah, that
to
makes
create
sense.
different dairy products.
That makes
Up to
sense.
21% of the pottery shards found at during
Vex?
the walls
Yeah, but I'm not close
show
with Vex.
evidence of holding
I don't think I've ever
dairy
got to talk to
fats in
Vex.
them. Now, they could have
Not
just
even
been
once.
drinking milk or cream straight from the cow. That is possible.
I can change it for
but
free
it
now?
wouldn't
Yeah.
have been a pretty picture because
Yeah, you can change your
Britons,
I
and
think you
really
can only
all
change it like
Europeans
once every
at
2
this
months,
time
but it's
were
free.
Extremely lactose intolerant. The genetic mutation for adult lactase persistence coming to Britain about 1500 years after.
Oh, goodness.
this. So milk was more often used to produce other dairy products that
Hmm?
were less lactose filled, things like yogurt or butter or cheese.
I thought it was just snake lady
I feel
VTubers for a
confident
second. I'm
in
slightly
including
occupied at the moment.
butter
That makes
in this
sense.
soup. Now, another ingredient that is often found in sites from late
Chestnuts
Neolithic
and
Britain
hazelnuts?
is hazelnut. Their shells are absolutely everywhere, and they are an ingredient which, when well stored, could be available all year round. As for the main
Okay.
ingredient of our soup, the nettles, well, that comes from the fact that in
Nettles.
spring and summer they grow plentifully in Britain, and they did so back then as well.
I can't
Honestly, it really comes
I
down
can't
to
think of
figuring out
nettles
what
without
was
thinking of
not
fucking
growing
salad
in Britain
fingers.
at this time.
I rub the
because many
nettles.
of the things that we think of as being indigenous to Britain were actually brought much
Second
later
best
by the
nut, am I
Romans.
right?
Everything from
Yeah,
chestnuts
obviously,
to
everybody knows the
parsley,
first best nut
grapes,
is the
figs,
pecan.
Coriander, dill, rosemary, fennel,
Everybody knows
thyme,
that.
Mustard, cabbage, celery, lettuce, turnip, onion, leek,
Turnip.
garlic, cherries,
Pears, plums.
and a whole lot more.
Hell
When it comes
yeah.
to greens, the Britons were mostly relying on
Don't make me remember
wild
salad fingers.
things
If you
like
don't know
the
salad
nettles
fingers, do
or
not bring it
wild
up.
Carrots, wild garlic, wild onions.
And then
which are
discount
not like
walnuts?
the big round bulbous onions that we think of. Those were brought by the Romans, but rather
Pumpkin pie
are
sucks?
more
Oh, I
like
know pumpkin
very
pie
thin
sucks,
green
but candied
onions or
pecans are
even
delicious.
chives. So I'm going to add some chives just
I'd say
to
cashews, but
add some
cashews aren't a
flavor to
nut.
this nettle soup. So for this recipe, what you need
Cashews,
is about a
cashews
3-quart
come from
pot
a fruit.
filled with stinging nettles. So nettles are a nutritious
Just
edible
raw?
plant often used in medicine. Unfortunately, they are also covered in these little hairs which inject a stinging chemical into anyone that touches them.
Okay,
I
so
remember
what
the
do you
first
do to get
time
rid of
I ever
that?
came across them, I was like 12 and I was visiting England. It was my first time, and we were near Warwick Castle, and I, being 12, just had to touch everything that was around
Oh
me.
no, the
including
cashews
an
grow on the
entire
end of the cashew
wall
apple.
of stinging nettles.
They're not nuts.
And I remember that day
Cashews come from a
not
fruit.
particularly fondly. So really, when you're working with them, you should
Yeah,
wear
good.
gloves.
Actually, you know what?
Only
You
when
know
they're
what? We're here. We're here for it. Cashew apple. Here you go. There's the cashew before it's processed. By the way, it's poisonous. If you eat it, it will kill you. Unfortunately. But yeah, it has to be processed. It has to be dried and all that jazz. Otherwise, it is poisonous.
cooked or very well dried, do they
Damn it,
lose
yeah, that one. Yeah, it's a
wonderful
Tobuscus
ability to
song.
Sting you. Then you also need a quarter cup of lightly crushed hazelnuts, 2
Only
tablespoons
lightly
or
crushed?
30 grams of salted butter, a small bunch
Why wouldn't
of
you want
wild
it to be as
onion
uniform
or
as
chives
possible?
if you can't find wild onion, and 2 tablespoons of barley flour. Now, the people of late Neolithic Britain were not farmers like we think of as farmers, with huge tracts of land, big fields.
Oh yeah,
growing
they would
lots
be
of cereal
small,
grains.
like community
That
gardens.
would come with permanent settlements in about 1500 BC, but that doesn't
Still
mean that
something
they weren't
like
doing some farming.
7,000
Light farming,
years
and they did
of
have some
Neolithic
cereal
farming
grains.
before we get to
Mostly it was
full-on
barley and
agriculture.
summer wheat. So start by stopping the nettles from stinging by filling the pot with them.
Oh
and
God,
then
he's got one of those
adding
hexagram
water and
pots.
Set that over
Does anybody
high
own one
heat
of these
to boil
hexagram
for
pots?
5 minutes. Then remove the nettles and drain the liquid.
Huge tracts of
Once they're
lands.
cool, you can chop them up very finely. You can also chop up the chives as well. Then back to the now empty pot, you can add the hazelnuts.
Not
and
allowed.
Roast over a medium-high heat for about 4 or 5 minutes, or until they're lightly toasted. And you want to keep them moving around so they don't burn. Then add in the butter and let
Cashew
that
apple
melt,
expires quickly,
and
so
then
that's why you
toss
don't
back in
often
the
see them
nettles
exported.
along
Also,
with the
yes,
chives, and
they're
cook
not
them in the butter,
also that
sauteing them for
good.
just about 15 or 20 seconds.
They're not that good
and
as
then
like a
pour
food.
in 1 quart of water and bring that to a simmer. You can actually use the
Oh, well,
same
when I've got the
water
hex
that
pot
you
in my wedding
first
registry.
boiled those nettles in.
Ooh.
That would probably
They
be
always
the
seem
best
really
thing to do,
good.
but
I kinda want
wasn't
one.
thinking of it, and I got rid of mine, so you can also just get new water. Once simmering, take about
How
a half cup
dare
of hot
you.
liquid and add the barley flour in. Stir it all up, and then add
Does
that to the
anybody know if you
soup,
can get
which
barley
will
flour
help
at a grocery
thicken it.
store?
Just mix it in and let it cook for another 15
Oh, is that
to 20
nettles or
minutes
another word
on
for
low
ants?
heat. You can
No.
also give it a taste at any point. and add
no.
more salt if you like. I say more because there is some salt in the butter, and the butter that they would have been using would have likely been very salty.
Yeah,
unless
so
it
that the
was
butter
freshly
didn't
made
fall,
butter,
like
but
fall
our
apart
butter isn't that
or
salty
age
today,
and
so you
blah
might
blah
need
blah
some
blah
salt.
blah.
Now, while this meal only takes a couple
Just get
of
new
hours
water
to
in this
make,
economy?
it took
I
a
know,
lot
crazy.
longer to make Stonehenge. To build the entire site, it took about 1,500 years. Of course, they weren't working the entire time. The most
True.
recognizable part, the large sarsen stones, were put up around 2500 BC, around the same time that another great ancient structure was built, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And as it
That's another thing, chats. I make this joke all the time because I love Milo Rossi. I always think it's funny when some fucking conspiracy theorist is like, how do they make these big monuments? It doesn't make any sense. They had a long time, a lot of people, and skilled craftsmen. But we can't do that today. Skill issue, bro. Skill issue. Only ever seen them described in medieval fiction novels? Wait, you talking about nettles? Aliens. Yeah, aliens. It's gotta be aliens, you guys. It's a super secret. It's either aliens, a super secret advanced race of humans like Atlantis that eventually disappeared below the waves that nobody's been able to discover ever since. Or, and stick with me on this one, it's a highly motivated population working for the betterment of its civilization, at least in their eyes, that were promised a living, a home, and food for the purpose of producing these monuments. Like, if you were a craftsman who was basically promised to build the pyramids, congratulations, you had a job for the rest of your life and stability always. Especially if you were in Egypt. It's mostly mounds or low-level rock fences in England. Is that what you're talking about? We can cast that shit in a couple days. It's not even about casting. It's even then we have like stonemasons and artists that can make them. You evaded bread and beer? Yeah. Yeah, it is also potentially a job for your son and then your son's son. So all we need to do is make the Dark Carnival pyramids and we're set. Oh my God. That has to come from a country or a civilization that has plentiful resources, which is why it was so prevalent in Egypt. Egypt, as it grew, was in basically the perfect conditions. A bad Nile flood was still better than like the mildest Yellow River flood in China. Not my daughter's daughter scam Smo. Oh my God. With settlements nearby. Exactly. There was tons of resources. They lived on what is effectively the most fertile region on the planet. And you pay for several lifetimes of labor, shit can get done. Correct. And then there's like some people, it's like, well, how do they get it to like line up with the stars and blah, 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 blah. It's like, that's just coincidence, my dude. It's a lot of the times it's coincidence, or you kind of just mark it at the times that you need it to be facing certain directions. Yeah, math, my guy. Or, you know, a person who like once a year stands in one place and is like, all right, guys, this is where the sun rises. Let's make sure we mark this spot so we don't forget it. Yeah, without light pollution, stars are fucking easy to see. Like, the sky is a very different place without all the light pollution that we've produced in the modern age. Yes, and idle hands that lead to funny results. And it's always like, those guys that like will look at, what are some of the best examples? The like super elaborate ancient like Thai and Malaysian temples. Any of like the empires that existed in those areas that left behind these crazy, like detailed Buddhist, Hindu, and like other lost religion temples. And everybody's always like, that's way too detailed. They had to have like power tools or lasers or something to do it. Fucking just admit you have soft hands, dude. Just admit you have soft hands. Could potentially have been answered if the Library of Alexandria hadn't been burned. Also true. Also, the stars at the time were in the same place they are today. Well, true. There's always like slight deviation over thousands of years. That's not new. They are technically the same stars and the same patterns. They just wouldn't be exact. And could calculate the root of 2, which, why can't they approximate directions? Approximating directions was easy. Especially, I mean, like, even then, a lot of people didn't have, what's the word? Like, universal directions. Like, north wasn't always north. Of course, they would have different names for these things. Like, I do know some islander civilizations that actually used a different direction system where instead of, like, where north would typically be, think of the compass essentially rotating to be seaward. Imagine if north was always out to ocean. If you lived on an island and north was instead always seaward, regardless of where you were on the island, north was just out. That's just it. It's just out away from the island. There were multiple civilizations that had directions like that. Northeast Ocean? Not even that. It was more like, I don't remember the words that they used. I want to say it was like Lao Gu was like one of them, which was the northward direction, aka seaward. While like east and west would essentially just be go along the ocean, the like beach. If you wanted to go east, you're walking right on the ocean. You wanted to go west, you're walking left on the ocean. And then south would essentially just be inland. You just have electrical storage devices, batteries. We've discovered evidence of pyramids possibly even being hydroelectric generators. That is not even close to truth, Adric. That is not even close to true. Are you talking about the Baghdad battery? The Baghdad battery is currently, not even joking, completely lost. It doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed when the museum that was holding it was raided by, I believe it was either ISIS or the Taliban. I forget which it was. And the thing was, is it was seemingly a pure coincidence that it had like a slight electric charge, and the amount of electricity that it produced was, and I'm not even joking, useless. There was nothing for it to produce. And no, they were not hydroelectric fucking dams or generations or anything. It's all stone. Now, of course, most of those things were more than likely to get a level, because they are effectively level, is likely done from the flooding Nile. North was not always north. Sometimes the Earth's magnetic poles just split. Oh yeah, we know that. Of this based off the alignment of magnetic minerals in the oceanic crust? Yeah. I bet you could still play Doom on it? No. Because it couldn't power a screen. Adric, have you been watching the conspiracy theorists that think that there's like a massive power structure and spirals underneath the pyramid? There's limestone built next to the Nile, which is water. Running water over limestone generates electricity. It's almost like the area is covered in limestone. It's almost like it's a river. Like a lot of rivers that have limestone beds. Or that most of the bedrock across Egypt is limestone. Give the Doom nerds enough time, they'll get Doom running on a solid chunk of sandstone. Okay, you know what? That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. Also, wait, why did I minimize this? Was I pulling something up? I already forgot. Karst? Karst? Produces a charge, so are you a generator? Also technically true, Isis. Yeah, is static electricity? A merry-go-rounder has been taken by conspiracies classic. Every 200 years, the area immediately west of California floods. It's overdue. That's the ocean, Grebos, you dork. Quartz can put off a slight electrical charge if you squeeze it. Yeah. Which again is like more than likely dissipation of energy. Oh yeah, wheel of punishment. That's why I minimized it. You're right. You're right. You're right. Spins and spin tells us spin we will win. Please don't be a workout. We gonna get AMA again? That's fucking crazy. Wait, did Lucian ever ask me a question? Huh. Lucian, did you ever ask a question? And who was this who redeemed it again? Sylvie! Sylvie, do you have a question? You can ask me anything. Sorry, Weast? Ah, yes. Ah, yes. I think you snipped him before he could. No, that was before that. Because he spun, Lucian has spun it twice. Has spun it twice. Although Lucian may not be here still. Truly a wondrous question. What about Wumbo? You know, he, she, we, Wumbo. The Wombology, the study of Wombo. You can ask Marin for the code to her potato vault. I will tell you the code to my potato vault if you ask. All right, are we good? Making energy and any way using it is very different. Correct. A lot of things put off energy. Energy is created and dissipates spontaneously all the time. Any question? Want to join my harem of hot women who love women? No, I do not. Thank you for your question. Yeah, it's not that unusual to find things that can somewhat create energy, but using it is quite different. But I promise you, the pyramids are nothing more than tombs. They are extravagant tombs left to overly wealthy and overly abundant areas, either for religious purposes, because of religious purposes, or all of the above. It's not that unusual. What is it? Machu Picchu. Göbekli Tepe. Any of the tepes, really. What's the, I'm forgetting the major historical site in Mexico. I'm going to butcher this. Is it something like Teoteclan or something? That has the, like, is it Temple of the Jaguar? I think is what it's called. In Africa, always warm in the water because the hill behind it was essentially a natural uranium reactor. Oh yeah, wasn't that? I mean, that's because it had raw uranium. Like, there's tons of weird. Like, lakes can explode because of methane buildup. Too unoriented for all that nonsense. She also needs her books and knowledge. True. Of Giza, ancient Egyptian star books that were used as Wi-Fi hotspots. Christ. I mean, it feels like they're commercializing the pyramids of Giza to the point where they let Mr. Beast go into them, which is, and I cannot say this enough, fucking insane. Yes, there's a process where methane will build up in a lower level of the lake, and at some point they will spontaneously turn over, which basically means they explode. A massive methane burst will seep out of the lake during the turnover, and it'll kill everything around it. It's happened multiple times. You can look it up. Sadly, the pyramids only ran off 1G. That is probably true. Not actually. Not actually. All right, chat. Ad break. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. Oh, I need to turn off the filter. That's fine. All right, kids. Stream break. Don't let me down or Sunstar. V1? Does this count as V1 or does this count as like 1.1? Lake farts are real and they can hurt you? Very much so, yes. Filterless go-rounds? What do you mean filterless? I'm confused. Lakes are what now? It can only be changed in different forms? Correct. Potential energy to kinetic. Potential to electrical. If you want to look for elaborate tombs, look up your local prehistory. I promise there are some. For sure. 100%. Wherever you live, you can probably find some form of like ancient prehistory. I'm not even joking. I am near, I say near in air quotes, a hop, skip, and a jump away from a mammoth site. There is a mass mammoth grave near where I live. And it's a hop, skip, and a jump away. I've been tempted to go. It always sounds like a really cool time. Flags? Ooh. Ooh. Actually, I think I'm gonna run and nibble on some chips real quick. I'm gonna be back in a second. I'm gonna go get some chips. Have fun, don't fail. Good luck, kids. Okay, kids. What'd I miss? Who died? All right. Hold on, let me message somebody before I forget, because I will forget at this rate. Oh, good Lord, what the hell is that? Oh. Okay, it's asshats in the fucking enhanced broadcast Discord server. So with the release of the new like 2 sequencing, the like vertical streaming thing, or dual stream, that's it. People are at everyone when they run into a problem. What a bunch of dipshits. You miss Lake Burps? I miss Lake Burps. Baron, Sunstar's cheating. Sunstar, are you cheating? Are you cheating, Sunstar? Don't you lie to me. Are you cheating? Yeah, apparently people are running into issues, and instead of like, they're going into the support channel and just at everyoneing. How would I cheat? I don't know. Are you cheating? You're legally required to be honest with me, Sunstar. Long Island's. All right, you'll deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules, okay? It's Long Island. Ain't got that Maoin vision? What do you mean Maoin vision? It's the only one I want to get? Oh, no. Oh, hold on. I'm just going to message someone.
Can't spread over every egg.
Hold on a second. Let me see. Who has this on their wish list? Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll message Tia about it. Okay. Sorry, I have to send the message now or else I won't do it because I'm stupid like that. Okay. Only good thing about Long Island is the Amityville Horror. I used to deliver down that way when I was a trucker. That's not even a good thing. That was a mass family murder. More than likely caused by a demented son. Also, fun fact, chat, the Amityville Horror, in the case of the supernatural shit, was all made up. It was entirely made up by seemingly like reporters and stuff. Because after the house was sold to the next family, they experienced fucking none of the experiences that the original family claimed to have experienced. Even though the son also was the only living person after the family was supposedly killed by a random person with an axe. The Ryan Reynolds Amityville sucks ass. I don't know which one that is. There's like 6 different Amityville movies. Amityville Horror, Welcome to Amityville, The Amityville Horror, inspiration for the original Trivia Murder Party? No, it probably wasn't. It's probably just a general spooky theme kind of thing that's going on. Exactly, but he's in one. He's kind of hamming it up. I mean, that is Ryan Reynolds. He is known for the ham.
It happens on the day that this video releases on YouTube. I will actually be in Egypt seeing that pyramid. So if you want to follow that trip, then you can follow me over on Instagram or Facebook, Tasting History with Max Miller. I'll be posting a lot more of my travels.
I've heard, hold on a second. And now, I want to go to Egypt. Like, it just sounds like a good time. But at the same time, I've heard there's a real, like, swindler problem. Like, so many things just overcharge tourists. Just obscenely bad. I'm talking like, oh, what's the word? Basically, like, if you would get a taxi that would normally cost like $2, they'll charge you 40. And then they'll raise hell when you don't try to pay. And seemingly people will take their side and gang up on you if you decide not to pay. Egypt gave us dragon harpy women? Are you thinking of the original harpies that was just like a hawk, but with like the upper torso of a woman instead of a head? Is that the original harpies that you're thinking of? Huh.
Now, let me tell you a few interesting tidbits that I recently found out about Stonehenge.
Forced by a camel the dude's tour guide didn't pay for and they almost got killed for stealing. What the fuck?
Something I recently learned that actually annoys me to no end is that Stonehenge is not technically
That's
a
Yu-Gi-Oh!
true
Also
henge.
Greek?
See, the archaeological...
No, you're thinking of Harpy Lady. That's not the one I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find a picture real quick. Put this away just in case, because there may be bare nipple. Oh, it is Greek. You're right. It is Greek. But no, yeah, it's just that's a whole ass bird with the head of a woman. As opposed to my preferred, slightly hornier version where it is a feathered woman. Heads on, birds with tits? Yes, exactly. And I cannot show you this picture because that is the original depiction and there are doodled nipples where it's just like the tiny little curve. All right, hold on, we're going back. I could not show you those pictures. Just look up original harpy and you'll see what I'm talking about.
term henge refers to a ring-shaped bank
Tricky
on the
Wee? No.
outside with a ring-shaped
I don't think
ditch
Tricky's
on the
Egyptian, is she?
inside that partially encloses.
I mean, her theme's
a
Egyptian.
central
I don't think she's
circular
actually
area.
Egyptian,
But
is she?
since Stonehenge has the main ditch.
I mean,
on
she
the
also has the
outside,
fucking-
it
the
is
Southern
technically
Belle
not a
spider.
henge, but rather a proto-henge. And why this makes me so
Ooh.
reasonably angry is that Stonehenge is where the term henge came from. It is the OG henge. See, Stonehenge
Okay.
likely comes from the Old English word stanhanga, which means stone and hanging or gallows. And it's thought that it's probably because the Saxons, when they came over, saw it and either
Nile
thought they were
gamers.
giant
Oh, I did see
stone
that.
gallows, or
Yeah.
imagined the top stones, the lintels, kind of hanging on top
You
of the
wait, what?
standing stones.
Hold on.
But in
Hold
more
on.
recent
What are you on about? Haggling. I read that as haggling. I was like, a small hag? Used to being persuaded to prices that are even slightly higher or lower than market value in the Middle East. It's not even that. It's like they genuinely like jump on you. There's apparently a serious problem for tourists being in Egypt, effectively getting pulled into cars and extorted to pay high cost. I've seen way too many things on it for it to be like pure coincidence. Okay, that's what I thought. I was gonna say. I mean, even then, I don't think she has like Egyptian heritage. She may. I don't know anything about it. She may.
recent years, archaeologists identifying around 100 other similar stone or wood
Hey, there's
circles in
Woodhenge.
Britain and Ireland decided to call those henges, naming them after Stonehenge. But all of those henges had the ditch on the inside of the earthen bank, thus nullifying Stonehenge as a proper henge. And this just does not seem fair to me. And yes, I know that a pile of rocks on the Salisbury Plain in southern England does not have any feelings, but if it did, I think they would be hurt by this. Another interesting thing that I found out actually has to do with two of the earliest
It's not that
writings
Stonehenge
about
is the fake one.
One
It's that
comes
all
from
the others
Henry
are
of
fakes.
Huntington's Historia Angulorum, or History of the
Ooh.
English People, which he wrote in the mid-12th century. He, writing in Latin, calls it stanengas. Now, there are four things that seem wondrous in England. The second is at Stanengas, where stones of remarkable size are raised in the manner of gateways, so that gateways appear placed on
Hinge
top
gate? Do
of
not
the
start the
gates.
hinge gate.
Nor can anyone devise by
I feel like
what
Hinge
skill
Gate would be
such
something
great
like a
stones
conspiracy
were
theorist would
lifted
come
to
up
such a
claiming that
height,
it's like a
or for
portal
what
to another
reason they were
world.
built there. Crazy that even after 900 years later, we still don't really know.
That's
that
why
much
British
about
politicians are taking
how
the
they were
kids.
put up there, or why
They're trafficking them
exactly
through
they are there.
Stonehenge.
But what's really
Just
amazing
some
is
weird
that
made-up
Henry of
word for
Huntington
another
could admit
universe?
that he didn't know why they were there or how they got there.
Pizzagate
Not
has ruined
so
my
for his
idea of putting
contemporary
hashtag
Geoffrey of
anything
Monmouth,
gates.
who wrote in his Historia Regum Britanniae, or History of the British Kings, that these stones are mystical and possess
All right,
a
somebody take
power of
Vagrant's
healing.
paperwork.
The
Leave self-care
giants of
plan.
old brought them from the farthest coasts of Africa and placed them in Ireland when they inhabited that country. So if the stones were actually in Ireland, then how did they get to Britain? Well, Geoffrey of Monmouth tells us that, of course, it was Merlin.
Oh my God.
That's Merlin. Following a battle with the Irish, the Briton, Uther Pendragon, tries to dismantle Stonehenge using ropes and ladders, but is unable to even get them to budge. So Merlin walks up, laughs at him, and quickly magics them onto some ships, takes them to Britain, and sets them up on a gravesite where they are today.
Wait,
And so
gravesite?
which of these historian stories
But
do you
there's not
think
any
actually
human
caught on?
bodies
We
in
don't
Stonehenge,
know
is
where
there?
they came from or how they got there, or it was giants in Merlin. Yeah, it was the giants in Merlin story that kept being retold until at least the 16th century.
Oh my
Now,
God.
I know that the stones are not actually
Flan
from
streamer
Africa, nor were
Flanring?
they
Oh my
ever
God.
in Ireland, but they did come from rather far away.
The-
The largest of the stones,
King-
the
oh,
Sarsen
Kingsman.
stones, which weigh between
No.
25 and 30 tons apiece, are thought to have mostly come from the West Woods near Marlborough, about 25 kilometers.
You know, I never realized that these pillars actually had nubs on top of them. I only just noticed that. There's nubs on top of them. Do you think these other ones that look like gateways, do you think they have nubs that's like holding the stone in place? I mean, that would make sense. Probably. Maybe.
From where they are today. But the smaller stones, known as blue stones, which still weigh between 2 and 5 tons each, came from the Preseli Hills in southwest Wales, nearly 200
Damn.
kilometers away. And in a time before they had invented the wheel,
They dragged
that
it.
is a really long
They
way
dragged
to
it.
haul some stones. But there is one stone, known as the
Oh?
altar stone, even though it was probably never actually used as an altar, that may have come from much further away.
But it's in a-
And I love this because
it's
the idea that
at
the
ground
stone
level right
came
now?
from
Why
much
haven't they
further
excavated
away
it?
is relatively
Excavated
new.
it.
I just love that, like, still we're learning new things about Stonehenge.
Free the nubs?
The paper
No.
came out in just 2024, and it claims that this stone, which weighs about 6 tons,
No Kingsman jokes.
actually
Doesn't
came from
Merlin
the
die to a
Orcadian
landmine?
Basin
Isn't that
in
Merlin, or am I
northeast
forgetting?
Scotland, over 700 kilometers away. Now, the science behind this discovery is far more complex
Jesus.
than I am even capable of relaying.
I mean, it
to
could
you.
take.
So
I
I'll
mean,
put a
we do
link
know it took
in the
1,500 years to
description
build the
a
whole thing.
lecture from
So
one
they
of the
had
PhD
time.
students who actually published the paper. I think he wrote it, Anthony Clark, and he explains in
Plus, that looked
better
like a much
detail
smaller stone
how
than
they
the
came up
large
with
ones
this
from
idea.
200
what I
kilometers.
think is interesting, though, is that that stone being from northern Scotland, other stones being from Wales, other stones being locally down near the Salisbury Plain, that was the same idea with the pigs and cattle that were found at the site.
They were
Just
from
as
these
there
other
is science
regions?
that can tell us where stones originated from, there is also science that can tell us where animals were grazing at certain points.
Hold on. Can you imagine? I'm picturing this as like they had to drag the stone, but can you imagine it essentially being like a small village of people having gone out, cut stone that they needed, however long that took, probably a long time, and then slowly but surely dragged it slowly all the way 700 kilometers. I don't know why, that's kind of funny to picture. It's a very slow moving town that moves like, God, I don't know how hard it would be to move the altar stone. I don't know what its full size is.
In their life. So after analyzing the oxygen,
I mean, it'd be nice if
sulfur,
you
and
made like a
strontium in the
kilometer a
bones of the
day,
pigs
but
and
that's a
cows
lot to
from
ask,
Barrington
pulling or
Vaults,
pushing
scientists found that
a
while
whole ass
some were
stone.
local, many were raised in Wales, others in northern England.
Now Merlin
and
just threw it
some
over in
came
one day.
from
God
as
damn it.
far as
I guess you're right.
northeast Scotland, not far from where the altar stone came from. It's just amazing that way back then
They used anti-gravity
people were
magic.
coming
God
from
damn it,
all
Merlin.
over the place, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away to attend.
No, they didn't have the
something
wheel
that
yet.
was
That's
taking
that in this
place
period they did
at
not have the wheel
Stonehenge.
yet.
What that something was, we don't know. What we do know is that during that something, they had a feast. A feast much like the one that I'm about to
Ramps.
eat right.
Ramps are your best
And
friend in
here we
early
are.
construction.
Honey and blackberry glazed pork ribs and a nettle and
Yo,
hazelnut
the
soup.
knife?
A feast fit for the builders of
Is that a
Stonehenge.
bone? I think that's actually
So
an
I'm going to
antler.
start with the nettle soup because once I have the pork ribs, I'll have ribs in my teeth, and that'll be embarrassing. So we'll start with this.
You're gonna have nettles in your teeth too, buddy. Actually, that genuinely looks good. I never
Tastes
knew
very
nettle
healthy.
soup was a thing. It's like kale. Does it
Reminds
have
me
like a
of, like,
kale-like taste? Yes,
Spinach?
it's nettle soup with like
About
chestnuts.
as
Not
much flavor.
chestnuts. Oh, walnuts. What was it? Shit, what were the
very
nuts,
important.
chance?
To have like the chives and
Yes, that's exactly it.
the
Flan.
hazelnuts and butter in there and just other things. Because
It's just that nettles are extremely abundant in the region.
Not a lot of flavor to the nettles. The nice thing is, not stinging my face, so that's a plus. But it's
You'll have a
actually
bad time. Also, yes. You have to cook them a long time.
because the nettles like break down, so they are like kind of like spinach in that way.
It was just mirror and go back then. Rough times. Yeah, we didn't quite have the
Now
round.
to the ribs. I have to admit, I am partial to ribs. They are one of my favorite foods.
I
in the
mean,
world,
they're pretty.
so,
Ribs are pretty fucking good in and of themselves.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy them. Here we go.
All right, how tender is it? Ooh, little tough. I saw that.
Really good.
Show us the meatier parts. Take a bite out of the meatier parts. Okay, it's a little tougher.
I apologize for ribs in my teeth. I'll try to talk like this. Absolutely delicious.
I'm sure it
If
tastes.
you
It
wrapped
has like
them,
that
they would
sweet
be a little
tang.
bit more moist, but they're not dried out. They're perfectly fine.
Yes, that would be the honey.
The best though is that glaze, especially on the.
I probably would
ends
let
where
the
it, like,
honey
pools,
soak for a little
and so
while.
It's just this like.
'Cause honey's this,
thick glaze
tenderizer,
of
in
the
case
honey
chat
and
didn't know that.
blackberry. You really.
Fun fact, chat. If you leave meat marinating with honey for usually over 24 hours, it falls apart. Especially if you use leaner meats like chicken and stuff. Honey will actually eat through meats that do be honey. Yes, pineapple too. But I was gonna say pineapple isn't gonna work in this situation because pineapple is a tropical fruit and was not known about until I think it was the 16 or 1700s in Europe, where it was rented as a status
the
symbol.
honey, but then there is a little bit of the flavor of the blackberry as
Ooh,
well.
honey marinades are
I
very
mean-
good. Or even then honey sauces.
I just love ribs. Of course, there is a
It
question
could migrate.
of
Pineapples?
whether they
Pineapples
were
could, but they
eating
also
these
can't
things
survive
butchered
in
things like
European
ribs
regions,
and shank and stuff
unless
like
it's
that,
like
or if they
Mediterranean.
were roasting them
And that's a
whole.
maybe.
Might have been both. Definitely, on some of them.
Don't
they
sit in the honey
were
bathtub for
butchering
longer than
them
a few
because
hours.
there
Are you sitting in a honey
marks
bathtub?
From flint knives, but. Other
Sit on
than
your face
that,
for
we don't
24
really
hours?
know
Huh?
exactly how it was being cooked or anything like that. So many unknowns, but you never know.
I'm gonna ignore
what
that.
Might be revealed in the future, and we might get more information. Like
Glory,
the fact that just a couple
glory,
years
what a
ago,
hell of a way to
they,
die.
Learned
Hi,
that one of the
Hex.
stones came all the way from Scotland. And again, I will include a link to Anthony Clark's video.
Yes,
describing
very
that,
big flex because it would
process
take so
in the
long to get
description,
there.
and
It would
I'll
more
also
likely
include it
rot, and you could
in
only
next
rinse
month's
it.
Tasting History newsletter,
You weren't
which
supposed to
can
eat
sign
it.
up for at tastinghistory.com, and I will see you
It was a
next time
decoration.
on Tasting History.
Oh God, they put this under the Viking foods. All right, I want to do one more of these chats. Do we want to do the kangaroo one, the Australian World War II kangaroo, or we do this handsome devil from 4 years ago on Transylvania Recipes? Look at that fucking coiffed ridge up there. You know, with the coconuts and swallows? But if you couldn't afford one, you could rent it for the night. Yep. Chat, plant bee food so we can give love to the bees so they can make us more honey. Also correct. Vampire food? One for vampire? If there's only one vote, we're doing vampire. Only one vote? Damn, chats. Suddenly nobody has a preference? Two for vampire? Garlic? Hell yeah, dude. Fucking love garlic. All right, vampire
Around
it
the
is.
corner, it's a good time to make sure that you are prepared to fend off
Oh my
anything
God,
that
the
might go
eyes.
bump in the night.
Oh,
and for
let me get y'all
vampires,
captions.
That means loads of garlic. So I'll be making
Hell
a 16th century
yeah.
Transylvanian recipe for beef with garlic harvester sauce. So as we learn why Dracula
Oh,
hates
it skipped
garlic. This
Wondrium
time, on
ad.
Tasting history.
Go into the honey vats when their duty is done. Shh.
So today's recipe comes from 1580 and was written by the
don't need to
master
worry about
chef
that.
at the court of the Prince of Transylvania.
You're also not supposed to
And
know about
way
the
he
honey
writes
vats.
It is very conversational, like he's just talking to someone, and he's always going back and referencing other recipes.
Or the
and
maple
it
syrup
can get
vats.
kind of confusing
Shut up.
if you just read one recipe in and of itself. So this is a bit of a mashup of a few of the recipes.
I still think the greatest
Beef with
aromatic to
garlic
hold on.
harvester sauce.
I will stick by this till the end of my time. Garlic is the greatest plant in existence, and I will fight anybody that says otherwise. Am I going to have to fight anybody? Chat? Do you have something to say? Is there anybody that wishes to argue? We have maple syrup vats. Don't tell the Canadians. Where do you think I got the maple syrup vats? I stole them. My garlic powder in my kitchen is precious. Correct. Garlic? Why is garlicking? Sunsar. How many times are you going to try to make a pun? You speak English. I mean, in what context? It's the greatest plant ever. There's nothing that beats garlic. I've never seen a garlic plant. I'm going to show you a garlic plant then. Because I actually had garlic plants growing in my backyard when I was growing up. They actually have a really goofy looking flower. Let's see here. Garlic plants. All right. So here's regular garlic. Let me see. Of course. Very similar green stems, like a green onion and such, because they are technically related. And then here's the flower. I'll make a bigger one for y'all. This is what the flower looks like. And if you see these ones that are in like between the fully flowered ones, they actually have like a papery little cover. And when that papery cover breaks, they kind of just puff out like this. They're very pretty. They're very cool. But the most important part is the fact that they give garlic. That's the most important part. They give garlic, they grow well, they repeatedly grow, and they're super easy to process for a person. So if you want to grow your own garlic, it's not hard. Just get a big pot. Easy peasy, baby. Also, I never realized how cheap like dirt was for potting and stuff. You can get 20 pounds of dirt at the right place for $2. My supermarket the other day was selling bags of dirt, 20+ pound bags of dirt for $2. I was like, that's not a bad deal. Easy peasy garlic squeezing. Dirt easy to obtain. Imagine. I mean, this is usually like more like fertilizer quality dirt as opposed to like finding out that like your yard is not that great. Dirt cheap, you say? Correct.
Prepare the meat like I told you. Put parsley.
Like I told you. Wait, how's how I told you? I'm confused. I'm confused.
Is that you beat 6 or 7 eggs in vinegar and start.
You can't do prepare the meat like I told you. That's skipping step like 1 through 7. Draw the rest of the fucking owl. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? This isn't Max's fault. This is just the writer's fault. And I imagine like before this, there's like how to prepare your beef for beef dishes. That's so goofy though. That's so fucking goofy. Also, somebody please clip that for me. Somebody please clip that little moment for me. Prepare the meat like I told you. We're skipping steps 1 through 7 here. Draw the rest of the owl, I guess. Simply prepare it. Maren, guess what? Chicken butt? Chicken butt? Is that what this is? I'll grab it later. No, Beef, we're both gonna forget. Your yard is free. You could just take it home. I have 5 yards in my home right now. What'd you do? Dig up your neighbor's yards and take the dirt home? Good night. Oh, good night, Tuka. Sleep well, sweet prince.
Whipping it. Peel the garlic clove by clove. Break
Whipping
it well,
the eggs in
add it
vinegar?
to the eggs in vinegar. Then pour the meat's juices into it. Break it well with the blanching stick after adding
Wait.
the liquid. Be careful to
Oh,
keep
okay,
it
the clove by
shrinking.
clove to the...
So the real question is, what does he mean by prepare the meat like I told you?
Okay, I
Because
was right.
Earlier in the book, he says that he's going to tell you how to cook beef, and then just says, after you wake up, pray to God, wash yourself, then wash your pot. If you want to cook beef, wash your pot thrice, salt it twice or thrice, not more. Really? That's all you're going to give us? Okay.
That's
well, we
it?
know he uses a pot and
That's-
salt,
that's-
and based on some other things that he mentioned,
Wake up, pray, make
Going
beef.
to be like a pot roast.
Anyway, beef, come
He
here.
also gives a bit of advice that I think applies to me. If you're an
Rubbing
old
off on
man
chat,
and
it
can't
happens.
stand,
It
sit
happens.
down on a chair in the kitchen. Gladly. Also, if you want to check out this cookbook yourself, Glenn Gorsuch, who was instrumental in having it
Good
translated,
night, Tuka.
has
Thank
been
you for
generous
hanging
enough
out.
to put the entire thing online for free, so I will put a link to that in the description.
I'm not an ingredient.
So for
Says
this
you have
recipe,
beef
what
in your
you need
name.
is a 3.5 to 4 pound,
Anything's
or
an
about
ingredient if you're
1
willing.
kilogram boneless chuck roast. 2 teaspoons of
Okay.
coarse salt divided. 2
Hi,
teaspoons
Dr.
of
Player.
black pepper. Two teaspoons. Ha ha ha. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. 2 tablespoons or 30 milliliters of olive oil. 3 cups or 700
why was that olive oil
milliliters
so
of
cloudy?
water. So it seems that the recipe calls for water, but if you wanted to use beef broth or add in a little bit of wine, you wouldn't be wrong to do so. 2 cups or 300 grams of parsley root or parsnips diced. Parsley root and parsnips look exactly alike, and they taste
Partly responsible for
similar,
this
not
dish since you
exactly,
put up so
but
many
it
people
is
on
really hard
stakes.
to find parsley root
In game, his
because
neighbor's
it's a
generational
different
trauma
type of
thinking they
parsley
live next to a
than we
mythical
typically
monster.
grow here, at least in the U.S. So go with parsnips if you can find parsley root. A half cup or 15 grams of torn
maybe?
parsley leaves.
I don't
and
know.
1
This feels
large
like it's
onion
stretching it a
chopped.
little bit.
Then for the sauce, you'll need 6 medium eggs, a half cup or 120 milliliters
Okay,
of
that
white
probably
wine
also
vinegar,
makes
a
why
half
the
teaspoon of
sauce was
black
so
pepper,
thick.
and 1 small head of garlic, or about 2 tablespoons peeled and crushed. Now it's that last ingredient,
Okay.
the garlic, that inspired me to talk about vampires today, because it used to be a thing to do was to stuff the mouths and other orifices of the dead
Okay.
to
He's
stop
going
them
to
from
talk about the
becoming
ones with like the...
And before
Was
they
it
used
Dusseldorf?
garlic, it seems that
that name doesn't sound right.
this week I came across their
This is gonna be the
video
one with
on
bricks, the ones with
vampire
nails, the
skeletons.
ones that had
From
like
Ireland to
sickles
Romania,
around their
there have been
necks.
Skeletons found with evidence of rocks or nails being used to stuff the mouths
Yep.
or weigh down the bodies of the dead so that they can't rise up. And William of Malmesbury tells of the Witch of Berkeley, who was so worried about being brought back to life as one of the undead that when she did die, she made sure that she would have her body wrapped in a stag skin and then put into a stone coffin and wrapped 3 times with chains.
Wait, that's really
But
cool
William says
though.
it didn't work because the devil just came right into the church, tore the chains asunder, and took her away. Her pitiable cries were heard for nearly the space of 4 miles. If only they'd used garlic.
That's a
So if you gotta work on this sauce before the
That's a crazy story. Wait a second. I'd never heard that story. Why did the devil come take her? Why? Okay, if she was supposedly a witch, which she probably wasn't, is what I'm guessing is the case here. She was probably like tried as a witch and then just went with the role because they were going to execute her, I'm guessing. And then they said that the devil showed up and took her away. And she was terrified of the devil in this case.
the undead start creeping around.
I don't know. The devil didn't make it to Georgia
So first,
until like
wash and dry your roast,
the
Then
60s.
rub it down with 1 of the teaspoons of salt and
the
pepper.
1960s.
Now, often when you buy a roast, it's already trussed, but if it's not, then you'll want to tie some twine around it a couple times just to help it hold its shape.
Okay.
Then put 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the Dutch oven or a large pot.
Honey
on the
garlic
stove
pog?
over
Goddamn right,
medium-high
baby.
heat. Once the oil is shimmering, set the roast
What's
in
better
the
than
pot
honey
and
garlic
brown on all
dishes,
sides.
sauces, or anything of the sort?
Then remove the roast and set it on a plate.
Trick question.
Now add
Nothing.
the parsley root or parsnips, the parsley leaves, the onion, and the remaining salt to the pot and cook until the onions are nice and tender, about 8 to 10 minutes.
What just
Also,
happens
if it
to the
looks too
texture of
dry,
the
then go ahead and
parsnip?
add a bit more olive oil. Then pour in the water to deglaze the pot.
Did
making
do
sure
elevators,
to
plus you
scrape
didn't
down
get a
any
name like
brown
Vlad the Impaler
bits
for no
on the
reason?
bottom of
What's
the
your
pot.
True.
pleasure? What's your fear?
Then add the roast back into
Man,
the
thank you
pot
for knowing your
along
season
with any
pass
juice
for
that has
20
come
for
off of
23
it.
months.
And make sure
Damn.
that the liquid comes at least halfway up the side of the roast. Add a bit more if needed. Then let
Okay.
it come to a simmer. Once it does, cover the pot and set it in the oven at 300
Ah, yes,
degrees
this man's
Fahrenheit
La
or 150
Crusette
Celsius
Dutch
for about
oven
3.5 hours.
costs more than my
Now, while
monthly
that cooks,
rent.
And before we make the Transylvanian garlic harvester
How are
sauce,
you doing, Ren? What
one
trouble are
has
you
to
getting
wonder,
into?
why do vampires hate garlic so much?
They don't. Because it's delicious and they're not allowed to have good things in life.
Garlics, though used by the French,
Is it bad I've wanted to play a character in VTM, Vampire the Masquerade,
now, while Ms. Amelia Simmons, author
that
of one of
actually
America's
has like
first
the
cookbooks, should have known better than
allergy to garlic?
disparage the culinary uses of garlic.
I've wanted to give a character one of those like legendary flaws of being like can't cross running water or shit like that. So they're like maybe even worse if they're like Italian or something.
Snakes, scorpions, wasps, and bloodsuckers of all ilks. So it's not a huge.
I guess
leap
the
to think
vermin
that garlic
trope
works on the little bloodsuckers. It'll work on the big bloodsuckers too. In the writings of numerous medical texts of ancient Greece and Rome, garlic seems to treat nearly every malady imaginable.
Hell yeah,
including
dude!
Infections and diseases of the blood.
Yeah,
What's more,
technically
throughout
garlic
history
is pretty
and
good
in
for your
cultures
heart.
all over the world, garlic has been used to ward off all manner of evil, which is somewhat ironic, seeing as one of the origin stories of garlic's rather sulfurous odor claims that the plant sprung up from the first left footprint that Satan left as he moseyed out of the Garden of Eden.
Wait,
The
that's
right
amazing!
footprint gave us onions.
Wait, what? Left gave garlic, right gave onions? Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Hail Satan, chat. Can I get a hail Satan for giving us the glory of garlic and onions? Anyone? No one? Just me? The devil is goated? Oh, it's delayed. Okay, there's a big delay. So he gave us garlic bread? Correct. Hail Satin. Amazing. Amazing. That's Lucifer? Oh, you are technically right. Hail Lucifer. Hail Lucifer. I fucking love onions and garlic. And listen, that by itself would be enough to convince me to become like I guess a Satanist, like a quote unquote Christian Satanist, not the like atheist Satanist. Delay skill issue? It's PC issue and internet issue. It happens.
Now,
it's
when exactly
stupid.
all of these theories about garlic's powers became
That's actually something I didn't know. That's an interesting tidbit of mythology.
Eastern Europe. And the origin of the specific
Although, hold on a second.
character.
I do know that there are some religions that forbid eating of quote unquote the pungent vegetables, which I think is, somebody may correct me on this one. Is it Buddhism that doesn't allow eating the pungent vegetables, which is onions, garlic? Oh, there's other ones, but it's escaping me. Thanks, Satan. It's pronounced Satine. I don't remember off the top. I know it's at least garlic and onions. And I think there's like one other one, but I don't remember what it is. But yeah, there's at least one or two religions besides
is also unknown,
Buddhism, I'm pretty sure, that forbids the eating of the pungent vegetable.
Centuries. There's porphyria, which causes the sufferer to have pale skin, light sensitivity, and complaints that the sun causes severe pain. And I'm starting to think that maybe I have porphyria.
That's called sunburn, Max.
Said anything, and those suffering from the disease often exhibit a receding of
Wait,
the gums
dentist?
and the lips, leading to a fang-like appearance. And many patients complained of a sensitivity to sulfurous foods like garlic, which I think I'm safe because I freaking love this stuff.
If I ever got an allergy from garlic, chat, I'm sorry. It's over for me. It's so over.
With herbs, garlic was thought to ward off the disease, so a connection seems inevitable.
Kind of weird
But
sex
for my
terms are
money, the
these? I
disease that seems
swear to
most
God,
vampire-like
Sunstar, I'm gonna
has
shove a
to
clove
be
of garlic up your ass.
Both vampires and werewolves likely have origins in this scourge, which is
Considering
spread
pregnant
by
women and
biting.
aromatic
The
vegetables,
sufferer
I think
often
you're right. I
drops
do
some
know about
bloody
those,
foam
but I
from
know
the
there's
mouth
some religions that
behaves in
forbid
an
them.
erratic and violent manner.
Maybe it's only
And they
monks.
develop a
I think
heightened
it's
sense of
monks
smell, making things like
that can't
garlic
eat the
all the
pungent
more
vegetables.
repulsive. And the two animals most
Only a
associated
clove?
with
No,
the
you're
disease
getting the
are
whole head
dogs
with the
and
plant attached, so it
werewolves
sticks
and
up like a
bats.
flag.
Vampires. It was a bat that gave Meredith rabies in the office. She did not turn into a vampire, though. But if you are worried that you might turn into a vampire
If there's
after being
if there's
bitten
a
by
bat flying around in the middle of the day,
you can
it probably
unlock
has
the garlic.
rabies.
And if you don't want to eat it, then it seems you could just
Is
kind of
garlic?
hang it
Yes,
about
I
the
said
place.
garlic
For
and
example,
onions
even
are the two that
today
I
in
remembered.
Romania, Saint Andrew is revered as the country's patron saint, as well as the patron saint of wolves and the man responsible
Wait,
for
which
bringing
saint?
garlic to the country. And so on November 30th, the feast day of St. Andrew and Romania's version of Halloween, the way to ward off the spirits, demons, and vampires endemic to the holiday
Was by
to
hanging
hang
garlic?
from your windows and doors, hang it in your barn, and even spread it on your livestock.
All right,
They
chat,
also
don't
have a
forget to
tradition
rub
known as the
your
Garden
crushed
of the
garlic on
where
your
the young
livestock
people of the
skin,
town would bring
especially your
garlic to
dogs.
the center of town, put it in a pot, and then dance around it, and then have the matriarch of the village watch over it all night. And while the
Wait,
holiday seems to be
why
one
do
of
you send the
vampires
old lady to
most
do it?
active, the practice of hanging garlic should work all year round. That's actually what Dr. Van Helsing did to protect Lucy in Bram
Good
Stoker's
lord.
Dracula. Though in the book, instead of cloves of garlic, it was
How many do
actually
you
garlic
need?
flowers that he hung about the room and made into a necklace to put around Lucy's
Ah,
neck to ensure
okay.
that every whiff of air that might get in would be laden with the garlic smell. Unfortunately for Lucy, nobody seemed to
Cuts
tell
beef
her
running
mom
down
of
with all the
plan,
garlic
and
in
so her
Baron's
mother
kitchen.
comes in and is like,
My
"This
garlic.
place stinks. It smells like garlic in here." Takes all the garlic, throws it out, opens the window to let some fresh air in, which, spoiler alert, also lets Dracula in, who kills Lucy. Van
Idiots.
Helsing fills her coffin with garlic, but no dice. She still rises up, becoming one of the undead.
Because the old lady is a
and so
level
they
5
have to
shaman, only
stake
level
her through the
5?
heart, cut
You know
off her
max
head,
level's
and for
like
good
90,
measure,
right?
Stuff some more garlic into her mouth.
Only
Now, much
level
of the
5?
vampire lore that we have around today actually comes from the book Dracula. But
I actually
much
have a
of
collector's
what
edition
Bram
of that
Stoker
book.
got came
A
from
new one.
actual
It's collector's edition,
practices
but
in
it's like a
Romania
brand new
that were
collector's
documented
edition.
in the
It's kind of
19th
pretty. I've been meaning to
century
read
by
it, but I've been
Emily
reading
Gerard
other
in
books
The
before
Land
I get
Beyond
to
the
it.
Forest. Facts, figures, and fancies from Transylvania.
She was too busy to
In
power
very
level. She's
obstinate
over
cases of
60.
vampirism, it is recommended to cut off the head and replace it in the coffin with the mouth filled with garlic. Though it wasn't just
replace
vampires that
it?
were deterred by garlic, but in bringing in the corn, a few heads of garlic bound up in the first
What
sheaf
is
will
that
keep off
picture?
witches. Garlic put in
What's
the
your
money
pleasure?
bag will
What's your
prevent the witches
fear?
from getting out.
Thank you for renewing your
Take
season pass
pocketing
for 6
witches,
months. Holy shit,
scourge of
dude.
our time.
Pre-season ourselves
Now,
with garlic for the
some details more
vamps
about
and
the
werewolves.
Nosferatu or the
Listen, I ate enough
vampires
garlic to keep
of
vampires away at about
Transylvania,
2
including letting us know
miles,
that there are
2 mile
actually
radius.
two types of
I'm not even
vampires.
mildly
There's
concerned.
the undead vampire, which we know and love, and they're made by being bitten by another vampire. But then there's also the living vampire, whose creation is
I'm loving the
maybe
T1 right now.
little
There
less
is a sequel
threatening
to
our
it.
modern sensibilities. The living vampire is generally the
Muslims should not
illegitimate
eat raw
offspring
garlic before
of
ceremonies.
two
Some Buddhists don't
illegitimate
eat them at all.
persons.
Oh, okay, I
For land's
gotcha.
sake, somebody must alert the church.
I mean, raw
elders.
garlic makes
The
sense.
book is also instrumental in helping you detect
And
if there
especially
is a
before
vampire
ceremony,
amongst
because-
you,
hold on.
because they are masters.
I'm trying to remember the name of the cleanliness ceremony that Muslims do before prayer. But it makes sense because those things are largely deemed unclean in a general sense, not like untouchable, unclean, or like has disease, unclean. It's just one of those like spiritual things that they're pungent and they have a strong smell. And eating raw garlic would make you smell and would therefore count you as unclean. I know I bought it with my first book. Ooh, okay, so you have both of them. I was waiting until after I read the first one and had money to buy the second
And
one.
The first thing to do is check to see if it's been raining lately. And if not,
Stinking
then killing a frog
rose.
is sometimes
Really?
effectual in bringing on rain. But if this also fails in the
Wait,
desired
just
effect,
a single
then the
frog?
evil must evidently be of deeper nature and is to be attributed to a vampire who must be sought out and destroyed. I'm thinking Los Angeles is filled with vampires because it never rains here. We do have a lot of talent agents, and they're bloodsuckers.
That is true.
Now, I know what you're saying.
That is 100%
This all
true.
old superstition, confined to books and movies
Without a
and TV
doubt.
shows. But allow me to offer a bit more.
I've never cared for what we do in the
contemporary
shadows.
evidence
I know some people are
for the
obsessed
use
with
of
it as like
dark
vampire
and
media. I have never enjoyed it.
In the 1970s, Harry Sen, a folklorist, was told that even at that time in Romania, handing out garlic at a church service and seeing who did and did not eat it was a good way to detect if there was a vampire in the congregation.
Imagine being
And in
some poor person that had an
2012, less than
allergy
a
to
decade
garlic.
ago, garlic sales
I can't, my
skyrocketed
face will puff
in a
up and
small
out, my
suburban
face will
town
explode.
After the town council warned
Vampire.
everyone that they should hang garlic from their doors and windows. We have also reminded them to put a holy cross in every room in the house.
Every
The
room?
precaution was due to the
How do you
collapse
supply
of an
enough
old
crosses for
shack
well-
that had been the home of the 19th century vampire Sava Savanovich. The
That's
destruction
not
of
a
the
real
house was thought to
picture.
leave Sava Savanovich homeless, and so
My
he
mom
would
loves
be
that show.
wandering about
Yeah,
looking
that's.
for
I know some people like it.
alternatives
It just
and
feels too campy
now,
for
did the
me.
people actually believe that this was a real threat, or was it all a bit of fun, a little
Have a
tongue-in-cheek?
good night, pray. Sleep well.
I don't know.
My
What
son
I
of
do
each.
know is that with all of the garlic in the sauce that I'm
Hi,
about to make,
Slamist.
I should be safe just in case Sava Savanovich comes prowling around Burbank. So you'll know your meat is cooked when you
Huh?
can insert a fork or a knife into the meat and twist with very little resistance. Then take the pot out
That's
of the
tender.
oven, carefully removing the roast and letting it rest on a platter. Now to make
Okay.
the sauce, go ahead and whisk the eggs.
Oh, all right,
and
we
then
haven't made the
whisk in
sauce yet.
Vinegar until smooth. Then add in the garlic and the pepper and whisk to combine.
Okay.
Then take a cup or so of the broth that the roast was cooked in and very slowly add it into the eggs, whisking vigorously the entire time so that you temper the eggs and they don't curdle, or what the author
Son of a
calls
bitch. Ah, yes, the
shrinking.
vavitch.
Now it's kind of unclear here what to do next with the sauce, if it's ready now or if you have to heat it, because he warns to not let it boil. And
Oh, yeah, 'cause you would
if it's not being
essentially
heated,
cook
then
the
I don't
eggs.
see why that would need a warning. So for my money, put the sauce in the saucepan and set it over low heat.
The
to
lowest
slowly
heat you
warm
can
while
get.
you whisk. This will thicken the sauce over the next couple minutes. Just make sure not to let it boil or it will curdle. And here we
Angus
are.
eggs.
16th century Transylvanian
Oh, that's right, that's the
beef
parsnips.
with garlic harvester sauce. It smells
Oh.
so good. You can smell the garlic, most definitely. And then there's a bit of a tang to the vinegar, but the other aromas from the meat and everything, it's just
I mean, it is a whole
smells really, really
beef
good. Let's
roast.
give it a shot.
So it would kind of balance itself out from that vinegar's
The meat is
tanginess.
so tender, it just falls apart. It's
Flash to
so
tender and good looking.
It's so
Tender and
flavorful,
good
even with
looking.
just the water. I didn't use broth or wine. You can, but
Wait, what clip is
it doesn't
that?
need it. It has plenty of flavor. And
Put it
the
in my
garlic
mouth.
sauce it is strong. You don't need very much, just a little bit on top. And
I am
it
getting hungry
just
too.
lifts
Too
it
bad
up.
the only
It
thing
is
I have to eat
garlicky.
right now, aside from a bunch of the other stuff that I got that I have to cook,
You're not gonna like the
I want to
sauce.
get through some chicken
But
salad
it
that I got
is
earlier today for
absolutely
lunch
delicious, and it's a really
before I
smooth
go and
sauce,
cook
which
something.
For this time period is odd because
I did also get a bunch of fruit.
just
I got a
coming off
bushel
of
of bananas that
thickening
wasn't quite
sauces
ripe,
with,
and they
like,
probably won't be ripe
breadcrumbs,
for like
and
2 more
so they tend
days.
to be kind of lumpy, but this
And
isn't.
some
It's-
oranges.
it's so
I got some
smooth,
little
it's
oranges.
almost like a modern day sauce. Try parsnip.
I mean, a lot of sauces are very similar that are like egg based. Sauces are simple. Like mayonnaise is literally just egg and oil.
Use just like a turnip. It's a little bit different, but you could also just use.
I was gonna get pork belly today,
So of
but the
all
pork
the
belly in my grocery
savory
store is
dishes,
all
the entrees that I've made
pre-frozen,
here on the channel,
vacuum sealed, so it's
I think
like
this might
tiny
be
and
my
flat,
favorite
and
ever.
still nearly
It's-
$20 fucking dollars.
It's absolutely wonderful. So I encourage
It was
you to
not
make
worth
it.
my money.
I also encourage you to like this video and to click the link in the description for your free trial of Wondrium. Also, for more Halloween content, last year I did an excellent episode, if I do say so myself, on soul cakes and the history of trick-or-treating. So I'll
Oh,
put a
okay,
link
we've
up
seen
here,
soul cakes.
and
We
it
watched soul
should
cakes
be
years
the
ago.
next video that pops up if you just keep watching. So I'll see you over there on Tasting History.
All right. Let's put you away. Let's go over nya. Nya nya. Nya nya nya. Wrong button, wrong slide. All right. I watched soul cakes tonight. That's interesting. It's very interesting. It's basically, they're more like buns. They're really more like sweet buns with like raisins pushed into them. But they're very simple. They're very cool. They're cute little desserts that like kids would enjoy. But gotta go make friends with some farmers and ranchers. I know. The thing is though, is that they're not often willing to just give me like cuts, and I don't have the budget to be like, all right guys, I'd like to buy the entire harvest of this one cow or this one pig. I also don't have the space for it.
Step inside.
Alan05, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Like a whole cow, or actually a half a cow, because sometimes farms and ranchers will only sell it at like a whole cow or a half a cow, or whole pig, half pig. They're not exactly. Professor Nyanya learned it all from Lady Nyanyan themselves. Classic. What? Gotta start a Baron farmers market. Listen, I wish my farmers market was a little better than it is, because it's mostly like really annoying like products, like people trying to sell like soaps, mostly maybe jams. There's hardly ever any produce, and there's never any meat. Like that shit just doesn't exist. A place near me sells pork belly, or 7 pounds per kilo. I often buy from there to make bacon. That's when I went to that Asian market, the one from when I went to get sushi with my sister. They had pork belly, and it was like $4 or less a pound, I think is what it was. I don't remember for sure. I remember looking at the price and being like, damn, I should get pork belly here. But then I was like, oh, but I don't have like my cooler bag or anything. Oh well. Spare uppies, spare uppies. Oh, geez. I'd like to, Gannon, but I gotta go. We gotta, you know how it is, right? I'm just so busy.
All right, time to execute my trick.
No, listen.
I just gotta, go support the homies. It's his birthday bash day 1. They're currently actually playing a sort of spooky game called Puppet Master. The game based off the movie Puppet Master. Today is the last day to play this game, so this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience to see what this game is like. I may, shortly after I go nibble on something, join them. Because it is a free game on Steam. But, nice, 69. But other than that, chat, let's do Brulee. Let's do Brulee. If you don't have a sub, feel free to use the Crime Please one with the little grabby dude. If you do have a sub, please use the Crime Brulee emotes. Place of crime, are we? Shh, it's fine. Hi, Explosion, welcome in. Cool name. It's very funny to me that you got the name Explosion. No extras. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be playing Ghostwire? I think tomorrow's Ghostwire. I'm pretty sure it is. But other than that, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And I will see you tomorrow. Good night. Sleep well. Eat something delicious or I will find you.